Here we go. Thursday night, everybody. So, we've got a great show for you guys tonight. Very excited. A couple of promos that I'll also talk about that I got going on over the weekend that you guys are going to want to hear about. Please do me a favor, though, everybody. I asked the guys in the chat, or pardon me, in the panel to let me know. They're going to check on their phones or on their PCs, wherever they're sitting closest to. Let me know how the audio is. So last week, I did rebuild what I call my streaming PC. Okay, basically PC, nothing bells and whistles, not really, just enough to kind of get, good YouTube, good Twitch content out there. And there was a couple things that kind of went off, and it just didn't work right. I'm hoping you guys can actually hear me right now. Let me know if there's audio. Can you let me know if the audio is good out there? I'll give a couple of shout-outs in a second, too. But let me know how that is. Eric, the producer, you are in the audience. Eric, we're looking for some. You got to earn your paycheck tonight. Eric, the producer, everybody. Hopefully he can let us know. While we're doing that, audio is good. Thank you, Mary. Shout out, by the way, to Mary Wilcox. Mary's been a big supporter of the channel, good friend through the gaming community with me and a lot of people in the chat here, people on the panel. She visits a lot of shows. She always shows her support. And, Mary, we were saying prayers for your mom, and you just let everybody know that she had passed last week. I want to say that very sad to hear that, Mary. Don't want to start the show on a sad note, but I always like to say that I think, she's in a better place right now, Mary. So, our prayers and thoughts and wishes are all with you and your family. And thank you so much for what you do in all the chats. You're a fantastic, fantastic member of the channel. Great to have you, Mary. Shout out to Swiss Bliss. I saw Swiss Bliss out there earlier. Street 4025. Shout out to Street. I see these guys out there. Neil Augusto. So many great people. Lady Games. Silver Wolf. Listen, guys, we got a lot going on. We got a great show for you. We took last week off. Things come up. We had a couple of panel members couldn't make it. Things happen. And I said, we could use a midsummer break. There's nothing wrong with that. So we took a week off, kind of recharged the batteries. I got a lot of good gaming in there. A lot of fun. Speaking of gaming, let's talk about that for a second, guys. We generally do Tuesdays and Saturdays over on twitch.tv, Mooch TV. The link's right there. If you look in the description, it's right there. You can go ahead and copy paste that and follow me over on Twitch. We will be going live at noon tomorrow doing Halo CE, I call it the remake, not remaster. Game looks phenomenal. Looks like a lot of fun. Shout out to Blaze 4K and Lazy Vibes. They'll be joining me. We're going to be running through that. I think we're going to be running through it on Legendary. So come on out and have some fun with us. I'm telling you, it's going to be a good time. A lot of laughs, a lot of busting chops. We always bust on each other, but it's fantastic stuff. I love it. So it'd be great to have everyone that's over here on YouTube.
Say again, Mooch, you always bust on each other. Is that what you just said?
That is, it's an American term. Busting chops. It's not always PG-13, Nib.
I don't know what you guys get up to. No judgment. It's 2026.
Sorry, I'm a 90. Grew up in the 90s for the most part, 80s and 90s. That's what we used to say. I hope you guys all get that. Shout out to Nib for the catch. Nib is a master. A master.
Each other.
Yes, yes. Well, it meant something else, but I think it still means something. Mag, help me. All right, so listen.
Mooch, you're on your own here on this one.
You guys never used to say. You guys never used to say. You guys never used to say busting chops.
Oh no, I always do. No, I still do it now. I still do it now.
Yeah.
I always have someone.
Now it's more like bust a nut, So,
right. Well, yeah. Well,
no,
that.
No. Like,
well, that's
phrases. Italians use two phrases like, "Hey, quit busting my chops," or "Quit busting my balls."
Quit busting my balls.
I mean?
Right.
Those are the two.
Right.
True.
Oh, shout out to the great Danelle Brown. He says, "I know that ain't who I think it is." Is that Mag, the biggest Dodger fan in the world? Go Dodgers, right, Mag? Oh, let's not get him upset. I can't even say anything. Mag, I don't know how the Blue Jays are doing. I can tell you the Mets are in the toilet. Here's two teams that me and you were like, hey, we got a chance next year. And we're both sitting there. I don't know. I can't. You guys have a better chance than we do. We're terrible right now. But honestly, great show for you guys. Go over and check us out on twitch.tv. We're going to be there Friday, Saturday doing Halo. I think Saturday we even do a quick finish. It's going to be our last part 10 on Dark Souls 3. A lot of gaming going on, having a lot of fun. Go over and check us out there. But this fantastic panel here, and we do have some more people joining us. Wise will be joining us soon. Creative Kofi, Brap are all on the way as well. But without further ado, the great DS. DS, I didn't catch the whole thing. I kind of fast forwarded it. But Solid Cast last Saturday night, you guys did Among Us. And I caught, the beginning, the middle, and the end. And what was great about it, DS, was you were the imposter the first round, and nobody picked you at all, which I found funny because you were the quietest. And everybody knows that DS is not quiet. So, like, if DS is quiet, I'm like, wait, this guy's guilty. But nobody picked him. DS, great to have you on the show, buddy. I thought it was great you guys over there on Solcast jamming out and playing some games. It was fantastic. But DS, how you doing tonight?
Doing great. It was a fun time. That was back to the COVID.
Yes.
The 2020s, being in the Discord, playing with Jack and Blaze, and everyone just being on Among Us for ages. So
that was
we,
fun.
Wanted to have a go again because he was like, Solcast is here, whatever this week. So we were like, okay, let's play some Among Us. And so it was a nice time. Plus, it's funny to gaslight people into not suspecting you and, play on people's tendencies. But it was a fun time. And then obviously, I have Wildfire now up by me. So that's something.
No, there's that. Yeah.
No, that's incredibly fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm kind of like smoke everywhere. And it smells like shit, but whatever. And then... So we have that going on, and then it's like, oh, well, yeah, let's go do the podcast.
Let's go do that podcast. No, but speaking of that, shout out to Mag and our brothers and sisters up north. They gave us a nice amount of smoke last week. That was...
Oof. Let's say it's not our fault. It's 100%.
Mag.
Yeah, you should have seen it up here, man, because I'm there. I'm actually in the province where this happened. Right?
Oh, really?
So,
okay, I didn't know where I didn't know where it originated. Okay.
Yeah, no, from North Ontario.
Everybody's okay up there, right? It was just, It
was just ugly, but it was, very unpleasant for a couple days there. And then it cleared up over here, and then it made its way down there.
Yes.
So it's like everybody's freaking out on me. So I got people as far as like Pittsburgh and wherever, and they're all like, Mag, what the hell are you guys doing to us? And I'm like, we're fine. We got blue skies up here. I said, you guys are getting hit with it
Mag,
now. Now it's your problem.
Put the campfire out, Mag. So it was wild. Shout out to Eric, the producer. He says it's great. La Pedro, he says, hello, panel. Let's go Dodgers. Let's leave Mag alone. You guys are killing them tonight. We're not even getting started yet. But speaking of that, it's my voice doppelganger. You guys know he's fantastic. I love what he does over on the Magcast. It's just a great channel. He's got uplifting gameplay. He's got the news of the day, it seems to me. I check it out daily. If it's not daily, it's every other day. Mag, welcome back to the show, buddy. Great to have you. How you doing tonight?
I am doing well, man. I'm busy cat. Got a lot going on. Obviously, you know how it is, summertime. So I'm trying to dance around all the events and like real life stuff. Plus, I'm trying to do the channel stuff. So it's like I have to postpone the podcast by one day, a stream another day. This because it got concerts and this and that. But either way, we're getting it all done.
Yeah.
I literally launched a video right before we went live about Xbox. Matthew Ball announcing that they're doing an ad tier.
Yes, I saw that.
An ad tier streaming thing that they're testing on the Insider program. And I talked about how that is obviously a window into what they're going to do for a tier for Game Pass. But anyway, I did that.
Yeah.
And speaking of Halo, I actually just finished a Halo stream this afternoon as well. I had to start it late because Xbox was like under the weather for like the morning or whatever. So it was supposed to come out at 11 a.m. Eastern, and it was 3 p.m. and it still wasn't live for me yet. So there was a problem.
Yeah.
They were having outages.
I saw that.
Finally got it up and running. So I got the stream up, and we had almost 600 people come check out my stream this afternoon.
Oh, that's
Halo.
awesome.
Campaign Evolved. And then I even at the end, we did a little bonus thing right before I came live here on CrossFire. We did a 45-minute session of a 4-man fire team. And on one of the bonus missions.
Yes.
And it was fantastic, man. And I got to tell you what I did, because a lot of people are asking me, and I did it on purpose. So while I'm playing the stream today, it looked fantastic, plays incredible.
Right.
It plays like Call of Duty, and it's exactly what I want. I know some Halo, purists are going to hate. And I said, you know what, Halo purists, there's a game for you. It's called the Master Chief Collection. You can go play that, and you can stomp around like a drunk elephant instead of having a sprint button and whatever else you want to do, and no aiming down sights. Totally fine. You've got a game for that. This is for us now. This is for like the 2026 crowd. So like, reload is the proper button. You know what I mean? It's either square on PlayStation or X on Xbox, whatever. You got a sprint button, which is the left thumbstick. You got an aim down with the left trigger, right trigger, shoot, whatever. And it's amazing and looks great, plays great. And what I did today, though, as I did not buy it for the PS5 Pro, I played it on the Series S. And I did that on purpose. I
Interesting.
wanted to see what I would consider to be the lowest common denominator, right? I go, let's see the majority of, and I'm actually going to continue that because actually a lot of people in the chat were saying, Mag, do that for the other Xbox games because we want to see what it looks like. Because let's face it, the majority of Xbox owners are Series S owners, not X. As they made it scarce during the time there that where you go to a store, they had Series S's, but no one had an X. It was like a unicorn at one point, right?
That's right.
So anyway, the point is I played Forza Horizon 6 on the Series S. I'm playing Halo on the Series S, and I'm going to play Gears of War on the Series S just to see how it runs. But I can tell you this. Halo on the Series S plays fantastic and it looks really good. And like it's actually shocking. So some people came in and they're like, Mag, Pro? And I'm like, nope, Series S. And they're like, get the F out of here. I'm like, yeah.
Wow.
I go, there's a Series S. So they did a great job with it and the game is really good. It's really good.
So for people that have Game Pass, Mag Ultimate, like myself, so we can enjoy that game with the 5 days early, or did you have to pay up to get it?
No, you have to pay. It was $30 Canadian, so it'll be about $20 US for you.
Okay, so it's $20 to play it earlier, even with Game Pass.
Yeah, so like if you want to play it 5 days early, you got to pay $20 for the premium or whatever, right? So if you already got Game Pass, you pay $20. And I think it's $20, like I said, doing a basic conversion rate.
Yes.
I also had some people in the chat from the UK saying it was £20 for the upgrade, which is more than $20 US, not by much, but either way, I think it's about $20 for you. And you can play it 5 days early. They're doing the same thing with Gears as well.
Yep.
Where you could play it 5 days early, and they're doing the same thing with Call of Duty. However, Call of Duty, I bought on the PS5 Pro. I still get the early access because I pre-ordered it and I got into the beta for August 21st.
Okay, so I will end up probably just playing it on Xbox when it does come out on Game Pass, but I'm picking it up on Steam for the show tomorrow, and then I'll probably pick it up. Well, listen, you got to pick it up for PS5 for the nostalgia that what will be the nostalgia of it eventually,
they're not
right?
Removing it from the store, so like if it goes on sale to $20 one day, like I'll buy it. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Have it there.
That's what I'm saying.
But like,
well,
I mean,
if you connect your accounts, you'll pop all your trophies over there, anyways.
Yeah, like I'm busy. The PS5 Pro is getting its workout anyway because I'm playing Assassin's Creed Black Flag over there, which, by the way, that thing's got its hooks in me, man. I can't stop. And I'm going to get the platinum on that for sure.
Nice.
And then right after that, then we're going to move into other games as we, move on. I got Dying Light the Beast, and then, of course, we get into the fall. We don't even have to get into that. Starting with
the fall. Forget it. Forget it with the fall. Yeah.
So like, they're both getting the workout right now. So, but right now, I'm working out that Series S on Halo because I want to see how it continues to perform. But so far, so good, man. Like I said, I did a 2-hour stream today, had almost 600 people come in. And it was just fantastic. And people were loving it. And they're like, hey, this is awesome. So, and it's cross-platform. So
it is cross-platform. Absolutely. Listen to what Mag's saying, guys. If you do have any option there, whether it be the PC, Steam method, PS5, Xbox, check it out. I do think the game looks fantastic. We're starting our stream up tomorrow. The guys wanted to do it today, and I said, guys, I got to do CrossFire. So I said, can we do it on Friday? So they waited for me. So cheers to those guys, Lazy Vibes and Blaze. Nib is back with us, guys, everybody. Nib taking 2 weeks off, by the way. That's fantastic. That's unbelievable. He was saving his time up. That's what it was. As he saved it up, he said, Mooch, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Nib, you're out there. And, usually I said this before, and I think Mag was like, no, there's news out there. And I'm like, no, there's definitely news out there. But it's funny, Nib, I follow you and see what's going on out there, and you're tracking. But you've been on the Odyssey so much lately that I haven't even seen a lot of news reporting from you in gaming. It's been all movies.
No, yeah. I mean, to be honest, I've been here and there and traveling and stuff, so I haven't really been able to focus. I don't think I've even tweeted that much. They've been like fairly low effort.
It has been lower, yes.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, Odyssey, I've watched it multiple times already. And then I was away in Wales and did all sorts of stuff. I was telling you earlier, took a go-kart down a mountain, zip line between 2 mountains, had barbecues, climbed Snowdonia. That was cool. And then all sorts of stuff. And then had my birthday weekend here, multiple barbecues and stuff. So yeah, it's been cool.
Well, it's great to have you back, Nib, and I know the community missed you. I'll tell you that's for damn sure. Great to have you back with us. But I'll put Mag on the hot seat here. Mag's going to be with us for about 90 minutes. So, Mag, listen, what's going on over there? And it's not just it's. I want to change the atmosphere and the tone. I don't. There seems to be confusion, and it's not just within the community. It's not just in the podcast that we all know that a lot of our friends all do. It's even in the industry. Folks are talking about it. People that are in the big gaming media are talking about it. Now you have 3 months after the individual was elected to the vice president of one of the vice presidents of engineering. He's quit, and there's a lot of stuff going on. There was the whole thing talking about the ads in gaming, and Matthew Ball, and I'm paraphrasing. Matthew Ball was like, I didn't really say we were going to do that, and then now here it is, it's back again. And there's the exclusives, and this won't be exclusive. And then Matt Booty comes out, and he's like, let's not put a big emphasis on exclusives. Let's calm down. But then the next day they're like, but exclusives mean a lot. Look at. Xbox has been all over the place for the better part of this generation. And they thought when Asha and the team came in, we were going to finally kind of, zigzag and straighten out the car and go down the street. I feel like we're still in that zigzag pattern, Mag. What's happening right now from your opinion and your take, and maybe if you talk to anybody or you know anything, what's going on over there? It doesn't look like this is going to be the savior for Xbox when there's just still intermittent changes going on within that Xbox brass.
Right. That was Jared Palmer you're talking about, the vice president.
The vice president. Some people say he wasn't the vice president of engineering solo. They said he was one of them. It doesn't matter. If you got a VP and engineering next to it, if there's three of you, he's still one of them.
Right. At first, what it is, this is what I'm going to talk about here, because you brought up sort of like 5 different things.
I did.
And, I just finished Madcast on the other night, on Tuesday night, and I literally talked about this for about 2 hours, just that topic alone.
Right.
Never mind the other topic.
Right.
But what I was talking about there is it seemed to be now I've heard the term before. Sometimes it's appropriate, but most times it's actually self-inflicted when you hear the term Xbox tax when it comes to, like, for example, the media and that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so now what happens is sometimes, yes, do people put things on put spin on things because it gets more clicks, gets more views, raises more controversy? Sure, that does happen. It happens everywhere.
Absolutely.
Does Xbox get a lot of that? Yes. Is a lot of that self-inflicted? 100%.
Right.
And so that's the problem. It says that, well, the thing is they can't keep, they keep talking themselves into a corner. And for example, this situation with Jared Palmer specifically. So anybody who didn't know, again, he was the vice president of engineering. He quits after a couple of months. He ended up joining another company, an AI company, which he came from AI, by the way.
Yes.
So he was at Core AI, goes to Xbox, and now he's going back to AI, and the AI company is called Cognition. My understanding is that it was just for more money. It was for a better position, more money. But here's the thing. And that's fine. Like, so that's fine. That's a non-story.
Of course, it's
really.
it's fine.
Like, wouldn't you? I mean,
absolutely.
If you get a position, use them as stepping stones to get to a better position. Whatever. Right. So I'm like, okay, this is a non-story. However, this is the problem, and this is the problem, and I'm going to touch on this when it comes to the Matthew Ball situation, right? The booties and balls situation.
Yes.
Right? Is that they have an image issue, and the image issue is it doesn't seem to be. It seems to be leaning back towards that not everybody's facing in the same direction, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing a lot, especially in big corporations, that kind of thing. But what it does do is that it creates an image that is not flattering.
Right.
And what happens is it also causes confusion. What's going on? What's the policies? What's an exclusive? What's not an exclusive? What's going here? What's going there? Well, this might be, but this might not be. We're exploring this. We're doing that. We're not doing this. And the problem is, and this is something I've been very adamant about. Talked about it on XNC, talked about it on Madcast. I said the problem is when you cause confusion to a customer, you lose their confidence. When you lose the confidence, they do not loosen the purse, so to speak. So what happens is when there is a lack of confidence in the consumer, they tend not to spend. That is actual simple consumer psychology. And I did study that, by the way, in school about consumer psychology and how that works or whatever else. If there's any lack of confidence in that consumer, what are they going to do? You know, they're not going to look like if you went to a car dealership and they're talking about the cars and like, well, you know, we're not really sure what this can do. We're not sure what it can't do. Does it go to from 0 to 100 and what? Well, we're not really sure. We're not sure if you're going to get 3 tires or 4.
Right.
We don't know. You know what I mean? And like if you, and the guy sitting there goes, all right, do I get a 5-year plan on parts? Well, maybe. Right. And so the customer's going to go, what the F is going on here? And it's like, I'm not going to part my money here because we're not getting a clear answer on what the product is, what it's doing, where it's going, or what it offers me. And so what people do is that they pull back, right? So now when you look at these headlines, so for example, this guy, I'm going to get back to this Jared guy.
Yep.
He leaves there, and what are the headlines? Xbox's new VP of engineering quits after 2 months.
Right.
Ashish Sharma appointed VP of engineering leaves after this article says 3 months. Xbox loses new exec that CEO Ashish Sharma appointed after 2 months. And so when you keep reading those headlines, that is what causes the problems, right? It causes the confusion, the customer, or again, the lack of confidence. For example, the Matt Booty thing you brought up. Matthew Ball says one thing. We're exploring the option. I did a video about it.
Right.
We were saying we're exploring options in the future about exclusivity and where we may go from there. That's all that needed to be said. If Matthew Ball stopped talking right there and nobody else said anything, I think it would have been just fine.
Yes.
Because people would say, okay, they're going to explore some options for exclusivity in the future. Great. Sounds cool.
Yep.
And then you just carry on. And then 6 days later, Games Radar sits down with Matt Booty and he goes, what? You know what I mean? That's all he has to do. Like, I mean, no cameras on, okay? But Mooch, you know the Italian well. You know where they shrug the shoulders and go,
yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like from The Sopranos. It's like, no. And so when he comes out and says that, what he said, and he says, we shouldn't, shouldn't focus as much as this and that. You guys all know the quote, anybody. And so what ends up happening there is now you cause confusion again. And what does that bring me back to? And like I said, I talked about this on Magcast. This reminds me of how the generation has been going so far under Phil and Sarah, and how it was going in the Xbox One generation, where one person says one thing, then another person says another thing, then another person says another thing, and the customers are in the middle going, well, which one is it? And then eventually those customers say, you know what, forget it. I'm just going to go buy a PC, or I'm just going to go to a PlayStation, at least, or Nintendo.
Right.
I buy a box, I get the software, and that's it. Like, there's no, like, you know what I mean? What are we doing here? What's the policy? We're doing this. We're doing that. We're raising the prices. We're lowering it. Like, you know what I mean? And so when it causes that confusion, then what are the headlines? The headlines are exactly that. Matthew Ball explores, talks about exploring exclusivity. Matt Booty says maybe not.
Right.
And so again, you're causing this confusion with the customer where I know people are going to say, oh, Mag, you're just exaggerating. It's not that confusing. Yes, it is.
It is.
To the average consumer who's going to sit there.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing, Mooch. Here's another thing. I brought this up even on my show when I said, type in the word Xbox from middle of June up until now. You could pick any one of those days and just type in Xbox on Google. So let's say you're a customer. You don't own any consoles. Let's say you're a parent. Hey, we want to buy little Jimmy a box for Christmas or for his birthday or whatever. Let's research these or see what's going on. You could type in PlayStation, right? And they said, let's just see what PlayStation's doing. Okay, there's going to be stuff on about the physical thing or whatever else. Well, then that's a personal choice at that point as a consumer saying, okay, they're having a digital future. Okay, we'll put that on the back burner, but we know that from now on, we won't be able to buy physical. That's fine, whatever. Whether it's fine or not, it's up to the consumer, but they put it in the back burner and say, okay, let's see what Xbox is doing. So then you go to Google and you type in the word Xbox and you just get inundated with all the article titles of layoffs, closures, selling,
can't keep up with demand. Not enough consoles out there. Blah blah blah.
You could call it Xbox tax all day long. But
price is going up next month. Yeah,
happen, Mooch.
Yeah, it does. That's what I'm saying.
Happen. So it's not like they didn't happen. So now the thing is, they phrase it like this VP thing. Sure, that was. I'll give it. You know what? I'll give the Xbox tax crowd that one because they framed it in a way where it sounded like it was a negative. The dude just went for more money.
Right.
So you got to give him that.
Absolutely.
But the thing is, all the other things they happened. It's not like we're making this stuff up.
Right.
So it's like. So the thing is, imagine you're a customer with no knowledge of what's going on, and you read those headlines. Would you buy that for $1,000 or $800? I mean, $800 for you guys, $700 for you guys. That's over $1,000.
Yeah.
Up here. And would you do that? I would look at those articles and go, what the frig are they doing over there? I was like, nah, I'm good, man. And you're gonna back away because all you see is closures, layoffs, games getting canceled, whatever, right? And you see all this stuff.
I've
And
got a question for you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So the rumors are ever growing that a lot of these moves could be Xbox just basically spinning everything off, like fully, from
I heard that too.
The entire company to the studios to Call of Duty, you name it. And I've heard people talk about how they're doing Fallout, etc., because these are the big, sort of high exposure, big brand name tentpole IP that
the show
make
just got
it easier.
Yeah, they got 10 Emmy awards, so they go after, what does AI tell you to do? AI tells you to move to what's hot, right? So they get 10 Emmy awards, and all of a sudden, or nominated for 10 Emmy awards, and what do they focus on? They, 3 Fallout games announced, right?
Yeah.
Because
is that right because they really foresee those games selling a lot more? Is it because it makes them more juicy to sell off?
I don't know. I mean, to me at this point, like, anything is up in the air. I don't think they're going to sell the company, spin off the company. They may go. I have no idea. I really don't know. I have no.
Yeah, but Nib, to answer your question, I would say both. Meg, I'll let you finish that, but I would say both. Sure. Think about it. What they're doing right now is completely the opposite of what we talked about 5 years ago with the idea of Game Pass. Game Pass, they went and acquired all these teams. They went and did all this stuff. Right now, follow me down this path. The idea was to make more games than anybody could handle so that they could keep fresh content in Game Pass. I do truly believe that we will see the Game Pass structure over the next 2 years change. It won't happen tomorrow or overnight, 100%. But it will change, right? And now what you're seeing is we're back to the focus of having it be Halo, Gears, Forza, Fallout, Elder Scrolls, right? And maybe a miscellaneous here or there. But it's not going to be all these wild, small titles that we thought and this and that, like things from Compulsion Games, things from Double Fine, that's all. I think because they know Fallout is a household name, Elder Scrolls is a household name, Halo, Gears, Forza don't have to sell that, they know. So they're focusing on that and bringing that core back. But to Nib's point, Mag, I also don't know. I would say as of today, I also agree with you, Meg. I don't think they're going to spin it off. However, I will tell you, you would want to escalate your value and get that valuation. What is it there? Your value. What was that thing they call it all the time on Shark Tank when they say you're coming in and you're asking for this percentage? The valuation. Thank you, Kofi. I thought I said it, and then I said it wrong. It didn't sound right.
The reason I mention it right.
Once that goes up, Nib, then you have a chance to sell it off.
Yeah, because oftentimes before you sell off a company or sell it for parts, basically, what you do is gut it completely, right? In terms of layoffs and stuff. And this isn't just, we're not talking a typical industry portion of layoffs. Like, certain publishers, they might lay off 5%, 10%. I think some of the extremes have been like 11%. This is 42% of Xbox that they've laid off. So over 9,000 jobs. They went from 22,000. They're going to be down to 12,800 employees, right? And again, historically talking, in terms of historical precedents of other companies that have been spun off, this is usually what precedes it. Yeah. I'm not saying that is going to happen, but the moves they're making, the language they're using, the way they're sort of commodifying Call of Duty is bigger than Marvel, this and that. Like, a lot of the moves they're making, it does scare me, because these are exactly the kind of things you do before you spin a company for parts. You basically, strip it down and then make it fat free. Because in terms of like productivity, obviously, if you're cutting this much employment out of the company, again, 42%, if you're not spinning it off, you do compromise productivity, because these studios that have been making these games, just take id Software, for example, if they really have had, half of the company or more cut, just like Turn 10, yes, I know some people were saying, oh, they're just back to similar numbers as they were when they made Doom 2016, right? But we're not in the same world as we were back then. Things are more demanding. You need more developers. The costs have gone up. The demand, the technology, and the fidelity and all of that stuff has gone up, right? Hence, studios are growing. But yeah, like the fact that they kind of almost have a skeleton crew, so to speak, and yet they were making one of the biggest IP, or a very prominent IP, is worrying. Like, how does Turn 10 suddenly make another Forza game when they've had like more than half of the company laid off? So it's just a weird thing. It's a weird dynamic where you can't tell me that, with over half of the company fired, they're going to pull out the same productivity and have the same talent and quality. I just cannot believe
so
that.
Nib,
It
that
depends if you have
also-
if it depends if you have the critical staff there. It's like Turn 10's been turned into a sports studio, but it's like Horizon's infinitely more popular than Motorsport at this point. So you may as well focus on that franchise. And Playground needs the Turn 10 engine because that's the engine they use, right? So they're keeping Turn 10 around to be the engine, to keep updating the engine so they can use that engine. Playground can use it. And there'll be a support studio to help them out. So you basically fold away Turn 10. And then it's like Doom. Yeah, sure. Doom, they've lost all that, but they also have support from the other studios. Like Machine Games helps them. They help Machine Games. They've done plenty of inter-studio operations. So I think it's more you cut away a lot of the fat and then you just get all the studios to work with each other and help each other make the games.
But then those studios have also been gutted. So the thing is, when multiple studios have been cut, you almost don't have as much manpower to lend, right? When you have a few hundred of you, yeah, you can probably lose a few to help out. But now we're down to like small numbers. Can you really afford to give the same developers for help because you need it yourself? So I'm just like thinking, how does this work out? Because again, 9,200 employees, just for context. Xbox went from being almost double the employee count of PlayStation to being almost the same number of employees as PlayStation again in the space of just 2.5 years. It's crazy.
But it depends where you put all the manpower and time. Though it's like you could do a lot with a lot less. Sure, you may not get a bigger quality game or more, should I say, bloated game as before. Because yeah, sure, it looks pretty, but again, it's like everyone wants to try and get away from these 7-year game development.
Would you say Doom Eternal was bloated?
No. I'd say Doom Eternal, it wasn't as good as 2016. I'll stand on that.
I do agree with that.
I agree with that. 2016 was the best.
The thing is, it's like, sure, they had more people, more tech, more budget, more blah, blah, blah. Yeah. It's just not as good as 2016. Like 2016 is the superior product.
But in their defense though, DS, I have to say, like you do have to continue as a developing team to evolve, right? So yes, I agree with you. But if they just kept pumping out what 2016 was and just put a 2 next to it and a 3 next to it and it was the same thing, people would also start to complain that it, you know what I mean?
You change it, but you keep what made 2016 good, right?
Right.
Sure, you can experiment, but you need to keep like the foundation of what 2016 was. Because if you look at what came after 2016, it was Eternal, right? Yeah, Eternal was a good sequel to it. It was like, okay, this is good. And then Dark Ages was, you're kind of missing the boat here. You're kind of going off track, my guys. You might want to walk that back. So it's like, yeah, innovate. But also just keep what made the game good and just innovate on top of that, so users a good platform. So if they say, okay, well, this is what we're gonna do, we'll have a bit of support here and there, and if they still put out a good game, then fair enough to them. That's what I'm waiting on. Is what
the problem is with that
game.
The problem with it is Death Singer, is that the people that made 2016 with a smaller team, which is true, and they're like, oh, we have the same amount of people now as we did that. The difference is the smaller amount of people that were there were the wizards who were actually able to utilize the id Tech engine, and they're the ones who created it. They're the ones who nurtured it, and they got rid of them. And that's something I talked about on my show. And Digital Foundry did the same thing. They said, these are the guys. The reason why they were able to make the game with a smaller team is because the people making it had more experience and were able to optimize that engine better than anybody else. And as a result, now the thing is, now they're all gone. And so what Digital Foundry was talking about, I don't know if you guys watched that. Digital Foundry shredded them for like 19 minutes. How they were super pissed about the whole id Software thing, and they said, what this was a short-sighted decision based on metrics and numbers in terms of salary. And so you look at a lot of the people that were let go. A lot of them were veterans who were making a lot of money,
Yeah.
right? Because they've been there for 24 years, 20 years, 19 years, whatever, right? And so as a result of that, what they did is they just looked at the spreadsheet and said, all right, start getting rid of them. And they got rid of the people who are the ones who actually know how to utilize the engine. That's the problem. And so when you look at that, that's what Digital Foundry actually, again, I think it was Linneman said it. He says, that's like saying, well, we got rid of Ringo Starr, John Lennon, and George Harrison, but we still got Paul McCartney, so therefore we still have the Beatles.
We still have the Beatles,
right? And that's the thing, right? It's like it's literally it's catch-22 because generally the most experienced ones tends to be on higher salaries, right? Because they've got the years of promotions and experience and everything like that. So if you're cutting that fat to save money, unfortunately, you are literally letting go of your best.
That's what I'm saying. That happens in the corporate world all the time. All the time. They want to squeeze out the people who've been there the longest. That's why I keep telling them, I'm like, listen, man, do your job, do it well, but give nobody loyalty in the workplace, because at the end of the day, the longer you're there, you think that you're actually helping the company. Oh, I've been here 12 years, 13 years. No, they're looking at you as a financial liability now. Trust me, I know. I've been in the corporate world for almost 2 decades, and that's what happened to me, and that's what happened to several other people that I watched it happen to. The longer you're there, the more money you earn. They want to get rid of you and get someone out of college who's making $40,000 a year.
They'd rather bring in two new engineers just that make the salary of the one senior. You know what I mean? That's like the old
they
mantra.
Will replace you. I've even seen it even in the restaurant business. They replace people who've been there a long time with a lot of experience and raises and this and that, and they replace everybody with minimum wage. And then that's why you see quality in restaurants go down, because it's a trend across most corporate restaurants across North America. So it's the same thing here. So they're doing the same playbook. And like I said, Digital Foundry, if you haven't watched that video, go watch that video. They just in their very quiet British way, they quietly unleashed on Microsoft for about 90 minutes. And I broke down the whole video on my channel as well, talked about that. And that's exactly what the thing is. It's a short-sighted decision based on financial liability. And that's the problem that I saw with the whole thing. Now, the thing I was going to say about what we were talking about before, again, is that it's not so much what I see. And actually, I brought it up with Colton. He said he believes that. And what I brought up with him, I said, it seems to me that they're shaving down all these studios, and they're basically going to work for 2 publishers now. ABK is going to be one publisher, Bethesda is going to be the other publisher, and all these other teams are going to be pushed into those 2 directions, and they're going to work on 5 or 6 or maybe even 7 big tentpole AAA risk-averse titles. Right, and they're gonna be cranking those out. So you're gonna get your Call of Duties, your Elder Scrolls, your Fallouts, your Forza, Gears, and Halos.
Right,
and that's it. Minecraft, sorry.
Yeah, Minecraft,
and that's it.
Yeah,
and then like I said, again, another typical corporate move, very Hollywood of them, going very risk averse. And that's why you see movies like, for example, Obsession, that gets like a $750,000 budget that the guy he couldn't even get it from any of the major studios, because they're all about risk averse.
Right.
They're going to go, well, our metrics say that, because everything's by committee now, right? Well, our metrics say that, male superheroes appeal to men between 18 and 44. AI does all the work for them now. And that's why you don't find that creativity. You have to go outside the box. That's why YouTubers are making movies now. YouTubers are making movies and funding movies because that's where the creativity is now gone.
Yep.
Now what's happening here is that you're going to have that very soulless sort of, no, I'm not saying the games are going to be bad. The games will probably be awesome. But the thing is, if she wants them out in a timely manner, which is what she's saying, she's saying we ain't waiting 6 years, 7 years for a game anymore. She wants them out in 3 or 4. That's where you're going to get all those different studios working together to be making those 6 or 7 titles. So that's where id Software got gutted, and now id is just going to be a support studio for the next Machine Games, and then all of a sudden Machine Games, id, and Bethesda will be working on the next Elder Scrolls to get it out the door, the next Fallout, and that's what's going to happen. And they're going to be cranking them out like a sausage factory to get the money going, to get the finances going. They're not going to wait 7 years for it.
And the creative juices kind of come to a halt at that point, Meg, because they're going to go with Old Faithful, which again,
they're going with ABK. They're going with the ABK formula. I think that's what she saw. I'm not saying this is for sure. This is just a speculation.
No, speculation. Yeah.
But my guess is that she saw the ABK formula and said, okay, they crank out a Call of Duty every year. You have rotating studios working on them, and then a shit ton of support studios working on that game.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what she's seeing. She goes, and they're making a lot of money. So she's going to say, we're going to do what they're doing, but we're going to apply it to everybody else. That includes Bethesda, ZeniMax, whatever. And then that's how it's going to work. And so shaving down those studios and basically having them all support each other to make those 6 or 7 games. That's what I see. I may be wrong, but I highly doubt it.
I can see there's a lot of I can see there's a lot of nuance in that because they still have a whole bunch of studios, right? And not all of them are going to be locked down to these franchises because you could spin off the 4 that you spin off, so you can get rid of Compulsion, Ninja Theory, and the other 2, and be like, okay, all you guys are gone. And it's like, yeah, you still have another 40 studios. So even if you could put a bunch of them on these like big IPs, you still have a bunch of studios left over.
I don't think you have as many as you think. That's in your piece. A lot of them,
Leon and the Wings.
A lot of them are in
still 1,600.
Yeah, but they took Oblivion and they took Oblivion. Oblivion is now making Fallout. So like they're putting these into the rotation of the big.
Just for a bit of context, right? They've laid off. So they will have laid off 9,200 people by 2026 some point, right? Based on the 3,500 number. So 9,200 layoffs in 2 years and a half. For context, Nintendo's overall employee count is 8,700. So they've laid off more people in 2.5 years than Nintendo has total employees.
Employed, yeah.
Well, they did the Disney model. What Phil Spencer was going for was the Disney model of. You remember when Disney was fired? Well, sorry, their plans for Disney Plus, by the way, started in 2013, before it actually came into fruition during the time of the pandemic. But they were working on it then. That's why they started acquiring Lucasfilm, Marvel, Pixar, all that shit, right? And so they got all these different studios, and they were doing it on purpose to basically bulk it up because they knew they were going to have a subscription service that they had to feed. And then, now it's a little different for Disney because Disney has, for example, the parks is actually where they make all their money. However, that money still goes into the same pot as the streaming services and their Hollywood studios.
Yep.
And so it's not the same with Xbox. Xbox did have Microsoft, but we all saw what Satya Nadella said, 3 weeks ago? He says, we're done subsidizing. So in order for them to stop subsidizing, which he did, he says, we're not subsidizing anymore. That means that Asha had to make a drastic move, reduce the studios, reduce the numbers, get everything down, and then start working on, again, the surefire hits that are going to make the money. Now, the other thing I'm not lost on, again, Game Pass is another story. I'm sure we could talk about it later, but Game Pass is another story. I'm telling you right now, they're not happy. First of all, they're not happy with it. The staff is not happy with it. Anybody who's been watching me or watching even XNC, I've been saying it for months, well before Schreier, by the way. I just like to point that out, saying that the staff from Bethesda, and ABK were very dissatisfied with being part of Game Pass. They didn't mind being acquired, but their business model, I might have even talked about it here on this show. Their business model was based on sales metrics, right? In terms of their bonuses, like their end of year bonuses and performance bonuses were based on sales. And they're like, wait a minute, we're going into a subscription service. Are you going to amend that? They did not. And at a lot of town hall meetings at Microsoft, they voiced their opinion saying, yeah, we're not happy with this. Now Schreier's talking about it. They're hearing about it. So now it's coming out. Now, people take it a little more seriously when Schreier says it. So that's fine. But the thing is also, you also noticed that with this lack of subsidization of their product going forward, have you noticed that every single tentpole title game that is going into Game Pass day and date, they all offer the premium edition to have it played early?
Yep.
2 reasons there. One, because they know they're losing the sales. So they're going to make up some of that money with people buying the $20 or $30 upgrades to play early. And the second reason is, once again, you don't have people buying the game.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So
right.
This is all tied together in a gigantic spider web, and it blows my mind that people aren't seeing. I mean, I think people are willfully ignoring it, but I mean,
I'd love to see the breakdown. I'd love to see the breakdown between Steam, PlayStation, and Xbox on who bought the earlier editions. I bet you Xbox, believe it or not, is probably the lowest because they're like, no, I'm already paying $23.99 a month for this thing. I'm not going to pay you another $20-$30. I'm not doing it.
Are we also lost on the fact that all of these pre-order bonuses where you get to play early, like, for example, let's take Xbox. Forza had the upgrade edition, right, to play early.
Yeah,
Halo's doing it now, which
Gears.
Gears of War is doing it, and Call of Duty is doing it. Mind you, Call of Duty is doing it for everyone. But did you also notice something else about that? They're all you can only get those perks if you purchase it digitally. So when people were screaming about the Sony thing, and I agree, by the way, I agree with the whole thing. I think customers should have a choice. However, there is an inevitability there that we will not be able to fight. So we need to fight another battle. That's a story for another day. But you notice that that's another thing they're pushing. They're pushing away from the physical because they're losing money there too.
That's right.
So by doing these pre-order bonuses, you want to play
You're
Call
buying
of Duty
digital.
early, Mooch?
You're buying digital. Yeah.
You got to buy digital.
Yes.
Go. No, that's it. That's all I was going to say.
Obsidian, the Obsidian thing is you want a slam dunk from them. So if you want a slam dunk, the easiest slam dunk you could think of is Josh Sawyer making a Fallout game, right?
Fallout, or Vegas.
Yeah, but it takes away from a new IP.
If you want a slam dunk, but it's not about make a new IP. It's give us something that makes some money.
But DS. But see, that's the problem. That's the problem. We have short-term memory. I say this all the time on the show. That's fine. But the conversation years ago was, no. We need to go get Obsidian. We need to get this company. Remember, the entire Xbox crew and a lot of people you talk to, DS, they were like, we need to go get EA. And we need to go buy Warner Brothers. And we need to because we wanted more games, more new IP. Now we're saying, whoa. That didn't work. Pump the brakes. What's the most sure thing that's going to print money? New Vegas too, right? So let's have Obsidian go do that. That's fine,
I think
but it's a different story.
I think they'll make other games apart from that, right? Because it's a bit disingenuous.
I don't think they will.
It's a bit because they're keeping grounded and
not
stuff
for a
around,
while,
which is a hit. But also,
grounded is a hit.
But also, I think they will because they have many talented people and they're used to making multiple games at the same time. Like their Fallout game will come out like 8 years before Bethesda's Fallout game because they don't take that long making games.
I don't think she's going to let them. I'm telling Destiny, I don't think she's going to let Todd Howard and say, listen, you're not taking 8 years. You got 3 and that's it. Utilize these studios. That's what I think she's going to say.
But that's the thing is that it's ideal for Obsidian because they'll take like 4 years, maybe less than.
They do crank out games in a timely manner.
The thing is that they will put out the game and it'll be a very good game because you have the GOAT who is directing the game. And then it's like, okay, so this is a surefire sale. This will sell multi-million copies just because who made it and it's going to be a good game. So you're like, okay, cool. Then whilst you put out that game, you could be making another game on the side that you probably wanted, which is probably a cheap game that you could put out equally as quick. And they could do a side project like that because Obsidian generally split their team in doing multiple projects. They've always done that. They have like a main team, then they have a secondary team, and then they have a third team, and then they have a small group doing something off on the side.
Don't forget they lost 25% of their staff though, so that may
they have, but they haven't lost the important people of their
well,
staff.
See, that's up for interpretation. But I mean, that's fine.
No. They haven't lost the key critical staff to make Obsidian like Josh, for example, which I'm sure Josh has a ridiculous salary.
So
he's been
DS,
for like
DS,
40 years.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but what you just said is what Mag was explaining with Digital Foundry. So you're like, they kept Paul McCartney, they're fine. The other 3 are gone. So it's like, that's fine if you want to say that. And Sawyer is he's very, very talented. But they lost people. So when you were like, they have a team, they have a second team, they have a third team. One of those teams, or part of the second and part of the third, have been eliminated. So now they have, at best, 2 teams. So it's reduced, and we don't know who they lost.
I do find your points interesting or alarming, I'll say, right? Because this is a company that their studio management is as such that even with the employees they had, their output kind of faltered, right, and wavered, and their cadence of releases and the quality of releases and everything like that. With a 42% headcount cut, including some of the most talented people in these studios, you're still so optimistic, and I'm just like, where does this optimism come from?
I don't know.
Even when they had 22,000 employees, they couldn't manage, and you think they're going to manage with half of that and losing so much incredible talent.
No, I'm not optimistic in all of it. I'm only optimistic in the people that I know I could be optimistic in. It's like I know I know like Josh leading a game is going to be a banger, and that is going to sell because he knows exactly how to put out a game that sells. He's the reason you have all of Obsidian's biggest hits is his. So he knows what to do to make shit happen, And that's why everyone for years, when they picked up Obsidian, said, why isn't Josh doing a game? And they said, he's not doing a game. He's semi-retired. He's in an advisor role because he wants hands off for a bit and he want to give some new people a chance to direct a game. Hence, you had Avowed, Outer Worlds, right? These are new directors they brought in to direct a game. This isn't his. He's just sat there like, all right, let's see what you got. Let's see what you can do. And so, but now he's like, okay, this didn't work. I'm going to take over and direct the game. So now he's in charge. So it's going to be a lot different. And that's why I have such optimism for Obsidian. I also have optimism for In Exile because Clockwork Revolution more than likely will be a good game. Fable, from a racing game studio, looks like it's probably going to be a good game. And then, yeah, sure, they're going to focus on the big IPs, which is a guarantee.
I said this to you a long time ago, DS. I'm still going to stand by it. I'll go ahead and roll with you on the optimism if you want. I question it like Nib does too, but the Fable, I don't think Fable is going to do very well. I really don't. I don't think it's going to do well. I know it's going to.
If it's updated,
we'll see. I just think it's going to. It looks very slow. The combat looks very, very shaky. The whole like running back and forth 100 times to warrant the love or admiration for somebody. You might go, that's just the game. That's fine. But again, we say this all the time. The audience today is not the audience from the first generation of Fable, right?
That's a good point.
So, and Kofi, I would like you to chime in. You've been wanting to say things for the past 20 minutes. What do you think about this whole thing? Because there's a lot to digest. And I have something I want to add to it, but I want to hear what you have to say first.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot I'm catching up on. I'll be very honest. My head is still spinning looking at the number of layoffs. And like, I think it was Nib that made the comparison to the number of employees at Nintendo compared to how many were just laid off at Xbox. That's
right.
A lot. But I think what I'm trying to, like, in my head as somebody who has already been so negative about Xbox, trying to think, is there anything positive about reducing the size of a team and trying to give some sort of focus? Because when I think of something like Starfield and how fans reacted to it and how the world felt too big, too empty, and then if you compare some of the mechanics in Starfield to No Man's Sky, where there's more continuity when you're exploring a planet, I think we all felt like it could have been a more epic adventure. But they had all the firepower at that point, right? So what went wrong? Maybe leadership saw that as an opportunity to trim the fat, to try to create more focus. But the problem I see with that, and the problem that I think Game Pass kind of created, was it tilts back the scale of games that can be released. Like I would be surprised if we didn't see games more release incomplete and always have chapters, almost like a live service type game, because it just is more manageable for smaller teams that need faster release windows, like Sharma is asking for. And personally, it just doesn't sit well with me because I feel like games have much more risk to never being finished. I love when there's a timeline to complete a game, and there could be DLC like Witcher 3 and things like this. But when you have an original vision, the beginning, middle, and end, it's a much better game or gaming experience, in my opinion. So that's my biggest concern. That will these faster release windows create these games that just release in pieces over time, and we don't get a complete vision ever at launch.
Yeah,
I think it'll be smaller games. That's something Colt and I talked about for a while now, actually, Kofi, that we were discussing. As I think that a lot of games that you're going to see moving forward, at least from them, are, you're going to have some bigger sprawling games like your Elder Scrolls 6, whatever, that's already been worked on. But I think you're going to see smaller experiences. If you were to take, for example, like a Miles Morales or an Uncharted Lost Legacy, like almost like an EP release. You know what I mean? You guys remember EP releases back in the day? It was like a smaller album. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that you're right. You'll see these things come out. Now, of course, I think they're also modeling this after, even, for example, let's look at Capcom. What has Capcom been doing with Resident Evil? Resident Evil, they release a new one in the series every 5 years. But in between then, what do? They keep everybody's appetites wet by releasing a remake, albeit extremely good remakes, by the way. By the way, the new Resident Evil trailer looks hot, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw it on YouTube for the movie. It looks great. Anyway, the point is this. What do? They release a game, then a remake, then a remake, then a new game, then a remake, then a remake. And now you look at what Xbox is doing. PlayStation does the same thing in different ways when they do their remakes or remasters or whatever. And what do they do? What's Xbox announced? They announced a new Fallout and a new Elder Scrolls, but they also announced what, 2 or 3 new remasters or remakes or whatever of different games. And I'm like, oh, that sounds like the Capcom model, successful model, right? So that was something that I would do, and I would do that with the big IP. So that's a smart move on their part to do that. Now, the thing is, they're going to have to back that up with an actual product. Now, to get that product out in a timely manner, I'm telling you right now, and this is, I was going to say something about the Obsidian thing that Death Singer was talking about. Obsidian being a great studio that actually releases games in a timely manner and are able to multitask multiple teams on multiple projects. I don't think I don't think the new management has that foresight to say, hey, keep doing what you're doing. I think they're just going to say, no, you're working on this. I really believe that. It says you need to help them to get this game out.
I think you're right.
I think side projects are out. I think original ideas are out. I think after Clockwork Revolution, it's going to be just those named IP that we know. You know what I mean? Like,
what do you think about
that's the case?
What do you think something like Grounded? Like, for example, I don't like Grounded at all. I just like when I
it
saw
does
it,
well
I
though.
just hated it.
It does
but
well.
That's my thing. Like. Yeah. Somebody took a risk for this smaller game and it became a hit. So you don't think they'll still try that a little bit?
No, I really don't. I really don't believe. I think they're going. I think the reason why they're going so risk averse and extreme with what they're doing is because they don't have a choice now. Because I think that Asha was given a time slot saying you got X amount of time to make this profitable, and in order to do that. That's where creativity, just like I was saying earlier, Kofi, you weren't here. Why has YouTube overtaken Hollywood and television? The reason why is because original thought and creativity is now found on YouTube. Why are YouTubers having the most successful movies in the theater right now? Supergirl bombs to shit, right? But you've got a guy who puts up $750,000 for a movie called Obsession or Backrooms, right? And they make tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, is because the creativity has left that space, because now everything in the corporate world is ruled by committee, and it's also ruled by risk averse because they're afraid to upset the investors. And it all comes down to the investors. They need to keep things that are going to keep them quiet and keep them calm and keep them investing, so to speak, and on, right? So I think that's where the creativity's gone to. And I think that because Xbox has literally painted themselves in a corner over the last generation and a half, is that the only way out is by doing the big budget, surefire hits. Everything else is on hold. That's what I think.
I will say I don't usually give movie. Go ahead, Kofi.
Creativity always takes a back seat once you start injecting a whole lot of capital into anything. If you just look at music,
that's true, Wise. Yeah.
Just like
how you doing, Wise?
Right?
Wise,
I'm doing well.
Are you back? Are you
a long time? Buddy.
Are you on our time? Have you felt comfortable back on the time zone, Wise? Now that you're back from your vacation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting accustomed to all of this and stuff, and I like going outside and being able to wear shorts and not freezing my testicles off. That's the best part of everything, because freaking Iceland, it's aptly named. Let's put it that way. It's
yes,
really cold. It's like 40 degrees in the sun. That's
yeah.
So I'm very happy to go outside and not have to wear a jacket in the middle of summer. So there you go.
Well, thank you for the photos and bringing the community with you, Wise. That was awesome. I want to say this, though. We were talking about the confusion on mixed messaging, and I have the article. They were scattered over 2 weeks. And Meg, you might be able to fill in these blanks. I think you did a video on it. So the id Software staff that was laid off has recently come out and said, hey, the id lead director came out and he said everything's kind of what DS was saying. Everything's fine. Don't worry. Key members are still here. The Doom team is intact. And then an article came out a couple of days after he said that, and they were staffers, and they were like, that's not entirely true. You saw that, right?
Yeah. And I think that statement was released by Microsoft management.
I do too.
Gun to his head.
Yes, absolutely. That's what I think.
He said it. Did they actually credit him with that? Because all I heard is that the team is still this and this and this. But it sounded like Microsoft management wrote that, not the id Software leadership.
But it was
if it was them, they say,
what
listen.
You're saying is a corporation has sort of inadvertently or advertently gutted a major developer and wants to tell the fan base, hey, everything is fine because they want them still investing.
Sure.
That's a shock. I mean, corporations have never lied to us before, so why would they start lying to us now,
right.
right? Of
Well,
course,
I mean,
So true.
I
Wise.
said it on, I said the thing is when people say question me on it, and they're like, "Well, Meg, I don't know, that doesn't seem very underhanded, or it seems like that it doesn't seem very honest." And I said, I sat in a effing chair in LA and was literally lied to my face when I watched Senua and what's the other one? State of Decay 3. Day one in Game Pass. Play it day one in Game Pass, and everybody clapped. I was sitting there with Lord Sov from the Iron Lords. It was just me and him because we didn't like sitting next to people. So it was just the two of us in the corner of the theater watching the show. And I said this on Magcast in case there's any of those assholes out there. They're like, Mag says one thing on Mooch's show, and then he says another thing. No, I say the same goddamn thing everywhere I go. If you ask me,
consider
the right
voice acting, Mag. Damn.
Has anyone ever looked at any corporation's balance sheet? Ever in their fucking life? If you look at any corporation's balance sheet, I don't care if it's Procter and Gamble, Microsoft, I don't care if it's a corporation. A balance sheet is a lie. They pay people millions of dollars to make those sheets look
They do it on purpose, yes, and you know why, Wise. They do it in order to keep the investors happy, and even if it's based on a lie, it keeps the stock up. And when it keeps the stock up, it keeps the stockholders happy because they're making more money, or at least their money is stabilized.
See, that is the biggest fallacy that people believe. They believe that PlayStation makes this much money off of games, Xbox makes no. The money doesn't come from the game. The money the money that they get from the game goes to stabilize the corporation. The money that these corporations are making are what these investors are paying into.
Yes.
That is where these corporations are making the money. So that is why their fiduciary responsibility is to these investors.
Why is that
without investors? Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I am one, so that's what I have to say.
In regards to the id Software thing, I was going to circle that back. The reason why I brought up the Senua and State of Decay 3 thing is that when people say, well, how do you know? And how do you know they're being dishonest or whatever? I said, they literally showed me games that they damn well knew weren't going to be going to Game Pass. And they damn well knew they were either going to close them or sell them, which means no matter what the outcome was, it wasn't going to Game Pass day one. And I sat there and watched it on the screen. I made a video about that too. And talked about that, and people went in. Not a lot of people, just a few people went insane when I said that. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like I said, and I said, if they can show that level of dishonesty on a corporate level, which all corporations do, like, why would you think that what they're talking about with id Software is truthful? And then as soon as everybody starts looking at the id Software thing, and then Digital Foundry did their video and whatever else, what happens like literally 24 hours later? Fallout 5.
Right.
Fallout Vegas, Fallout this, Fallout that, Fallout this. I'm like, why did you announce it now? Like it seemed like very bizarre timing, and the timing was they did it to try to do the jingle the car keys here. I know that somebody else did that on Twitter, and everybody went insane. I think it was Kotaku, but I mean that's kind of how it felt. I mean, like I'm not gonna lie, that's what it looked like. Whether it is or not, that's up to interpretation. But that was my first instinct, and the thing is with me specifically, I trust my instinct before I even break down anything in a critical manner. When I use my critical thinking, I trust my instinct first. And that was my first instinct when I read that. I said, that's strange timing, right?
Right.
And some people say, well, Mag, what do you want him to do? And I'm like, no, that's fine. That's your job. But the motivations behind it seemed a little bit, a little bit dishonest to me. But either way, it doesn't really matter.
So the Forza Horizon 5, I don't know if he's the current creative director. I think he's the former creative director. But he says he was going on, and he was kind of speaking to Phil and Sarah Bond, and he's, his quote was, "It's unfortunate that Game Pass didn't work out." And it's funny to hear somebody say that like that, who's so close to Microsoft and so close to that program. There's a lot of outlets still running that Game Pass is still very healthy and doing its thing, but you have someone that was on the inside said it's unfortunate it didn't work out. So
Asha herself said it wasn't working.
Yeah, but
when she talked about the unhealthiness of the business model from the big long email that she wrote,
right,
to the staff right around the layoffs, the first thing she mentioned actually of part of the unhealthy work business that wasn't working was Game Pass, and then very cryptically / not cryptically, she did say this: "We can't keep doing the same things over and over and expecting different results."
Right.
End quote.
Right.
And then, of course, I'm going to tail end that with, we all know that that's actually the definition of insanity.
Insanity,
right?
that's correct.
And so when she said that, that's a word for word quote, by the way. So when I know some people come after me in different chats and they're like, "Man," and I'm like, your queen said that word for word. So when you be careful about how you phrase things, and you have to pay more attention to how they're being said. You've been watching Phil Spencer do word salad for 10 years. And whenever he would inject something, you have to take it, read between the lines, because he's not legally allowed to say everything, right? Because that's not, they have, these things are timed for very specific reasons. Most of it's strategic. But either way, when you're reading what she's saying, the first thing she mentioned was Game Pass. The funny thing is, and I mentioned this to Colt on Monday too on XNCI, I said, did you notice that when they talk about the new business plans, when Matthew Ball talks about how we're going to put more focus on exclusives and this and that, and bring more awareness to the console, have you noticed that they never mention Game Pass anymore?
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
It's less and less and less.
Go back and read their quotes. They never mention it.
They don't mention it, but Game Pass has there's like 6 or 7 ads for it on X every other tweet. So, I mean, they're still pushing it on the Xbox front.
But that's not from the leaders.
It's not from the leaders, no.
Well, more important to all of this is stop watching Kotaku and all of these other like IGN.
Oh, they're clowns too.
And going for all this shit. You want to really know what's going on the inside of these corporations? Watch Squawk Box. Watch Bloomberg. Watch them. Okay. And when Satya was on, I think it was Squawk Box, he had an interview and he said, we've been subsidizing games for the past 25 years.
Yep.
What does the word subsidize mean? That means that you are basically fronting the bill. That is what Game Pass was. There was the subsidizing of all of their games. They ran the numbers. I mean, we are sitting on this podcast and we all have said, the Game Pass metric just doesn't make sense financially. And none of us are like number crunchers. Well, at least most of us are not. And so, yeah, the numbers have never added up. So that is what he meant, subsidizing a game. If The Outer Worlds 2 came out only on just you buy it, period, like it normally was, then Outer Worlds 2 would not have had that type of loss, because those individuals who are going to buy that game would have bought that game and they would have made more money on Outer Worlds 2, as opposed to every Tom, Dick, and Harry, whether they're interested in that IP or not, or that type of gameplay or not, just dipping their toes in for 2 hours and then leaving and saying, fuck it, I'm not interested anymore. And let's be honest, when you buy something full price outright, you value it more than something just given to you for free. I mean, this is just day one.
That's funny. That's what Shire talked about. Shire. Yeah. The Shire, Frodo. Schreier said, he said that actually that's what the Bethesda and ABK staff were saying about their games going into Game Pass. Now that came from Schreier. Right? Now, in regards to all that, you know what I actually kind of hope for and wish for? I say, you know what? And I'm like, just go for it. I just say, just go for it. If you want to go for something and you're really going to go for it, I say go for it. Make the games exclusive. Do that. Take them off Game Pass day one, which a lot of people are already starting to ask for. That's starting to get a little suspicious too. I'm like, I feel like some other people are know more than what's being let on, or maybe they're being coaxed to say certain things. And I'm from the corporation itself, and I'm starting to wonder. I'm like, I wonder if they're planting that seed in some of into some people's heads, so that when it does happen, it's not so much of a shock. And so I think that, like, you've noticed that people are talking more and more about saying maybe day one's not the answer or whatever else, right?
Right.
And I think that they've been planting that seed to get that in there. I say go for it. I say make everything exclusive and see what happens, because then at the end of it, it doesn't work. There's only one community you got to blame. You can't lay it at the feet of PlayStation gamers. You can't lay it at the feet of Steam or whatever. That just put it out there and say, this is what we're doing. This is what we're going to move forward. If that's what you want. However, that's never going to happen, because you still have to appease to the stockholders. But the interesting thing is, at the end of it all, the problem is, Mooch, I know you were talking about mixed messaging and where it's going or whatever.
Yeah.
The thing is, so far, I got to say, up until last week, Asha's been facing everybody in the same direction, and not many people have been talking out of turn. Last week was just that one remnants of a mistake of the last leadership, of one guy saying one thing, one person saying the other. So it was very reminiscent of, like I said, the Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond era, right? And that is enough for something as fragile, okay, as the armor that Xbox wears. All it takes is that one arrow to get through that armor, and people just lose their minds. We get all that, but what happens is, once again, it brings you back to square one. So if I was Asha, I would say, listen, this is what's going to happen. I pull everybody in the office, and I'd say, okay, hi, everybody. You're all sitting down, and you walk around with a baseball bat, like Robert De Niro in The Untouchables, and you sit there and you go, Booty, do me a favor. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, stop talking.
Matthew, excuse my language. Matthew Ball is the only one who speaks from now on. If anybody else is going to say anything, it comes from my lips and his lips, and nobody does interviews. No interviews with Games Radar or Kotaku or even Jason Schreier or whoever, Bloomberg and this and that. Nobody talks. And so far, up until 6 days ago, Asha's been has them, whether right or wrong, by the way, has everybody facing in one direction up until that point. And that was the only contradiction that I have seen coming from different people in management position that caused this whole rift to happen. And then it brings it all back to square one. So if she can keep that under control, whether they're doing everything else, whatever, incorrectly or correctly, depending on how you feel about it, they're reset, so to speak, then I think that they'll actually, on a PR level, will be more stable.
I see where you're going with that, Meg, and part of me, I'm tracking, I'm following you, but I will say, okay. It's Kevin George in the chat. He says, he says just Xbox is just all over the place. The thing is they came out and they have a plan. Like, just for once with Xbox, just say what you're going to do. Like, just say it instead of like breadcrumbs. And then we'll tell you more in 100 days. And then breadcrumbs. And we'll tell you more. And we're going to get into the whole PlayStation physical disc thing.
Do it,
but PlayStation comes out.
How about you just do it?
But listen,
a goddamn word.
PlayStation's like, we're not doing. They're like, we're not doing. Yeah, but PlayStation says, but when they make a decision, they're like, we're doing
make a decision. It's done.
It's over. Xbox sprinkles stuff down, and then they move on. They're like, we'll let you know more later. And then there's all this conflicting reports in between that will tell you later. So then people start to what? Speculate. And this and that. And this causes more chaos. And it's like, I don't understand why. If you have a plan and you've met with your roundtable, speak your mind. Let the consumers know exactly what you're doing. We are going full exclusives, or we're going to take these 3 titles, and if you want to play these 3 titles, they will remain exclusive to the platform. Just say what you're going to do. That's the problem I have. Everyone's like, oh, this new administration comes in. They're just as cryptic as the other administration. And
I just say just do the job. Like, for example,
just say what you're going to do.
What happened with PlayStation and the PC games? They just stopped doing it. They didn't come out, do a press conference. They didn't do a world tour on podcasts. They didn't sit down. You know what I mean?
They did say it during their one. I think it was either an investment. Certain Herman Hulst had said it at one of the things to either the investors, or he said it to the teams, or whatever it was. Because Jason, Schreier did
that. Yeah.
So they did say it. They didn't say it when everybody wanted them to say it, but they said it, and then it's done. They did this thing with
what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, just like
I say, Xbox just executes their plan and just stops talking.
Yes, just execute the plan. Execute the plan.
Way too much.
Yes,
they talk way too much for any corporate company.
We've been talking about them for an hour and a half right now.
And
think about that.
There's no direction. Nobody knows.
This is a problem.
Nobody knows what's going.
No corporation listens to this. Like when McDonald's brings the McRib back over Christmas, they bring it in and they bring it back out. People like it. People eat it, and then they leave. They don't listen and they say, "Hey, do you want us to keep the McRib out until April?" Nobody gives. No, corporations do what they want the fuck they want to do, and they let these greater, basically the economy figure it out. The business.
Can I really quick? Also,
the Sony digital thing was like one of Trump's tweets. Like they just said, by the way, January 2028, digital only. Thank you for your attention in this matter, and that's it.
Yeah.
That was it. It was like no fucking around, no podcasts, no anything. That's it. And then what happened 6 days later? By the way, here's our new fight stick. Like they just moved on. Right? Yeah. I mean, that was really funny.
Yes.
Watching people melt down after that, like, oh, fight stick. And I'm like, guys, just calm down. That's pretty funny.
It was
but,
interesting.
Anyways, in all seriousness, like I said, I'm with the customers on that one. But I mean,
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm just saying. The point is, they just said it, and they move on because they know that, yes, they may lose some people, but those people will be replaced and or other people will conform, and that's all there is to it. And I just think that I would first of all, none of this affects me at all. And I'm sure it doesn't affect you either, Mooch, or maybe a lot of other people on the panel here.
No.
You all have either PCs or Xboxes or PlayStations. I have all of those things. So no matter what they do, it doesn't really affect me.
It doesn't matter. You're right.
I'll just play it wherever. Like, for example, I'm playing Halo on Xbox right now. I streamed earlier today. Gears of War, I have no choice, so I'll be playing it on Xbox.
Well,
and
it
whatever.
affects me, I only have one console. Oh, wait a minute.
Well, then you got to step up your game and not go to Iceland.
Oh, wait a minute. I grew the fuck up. I'm sorry.
Instead of going to Iceland for $10,000 a week, you could have bought 10 consoles. Anyway, when Wolverine comes out, I'm going to play it on PlayStation. When Gears comes out, I'm going to play it. So it doesn't affect me. But the thing is, that's not who they're looking after.
Right.
I'm already a customer. Mooch, I've been a customer of Xbox for 21 years.
Yeah, it's a long time. Long time.
I mean, I know people label me a pony when I criticize them, but I still been a paying Xbox customer for 21 years.
Yeah.
The thing is, you're not after me. You're not after the people in the other shows and chat. You're after the new people. You're not going to convert PlayStation people. They're going to stay there and do their thing. They got their libraries, whatever. You're trying to get new people. So when you're trying to get new people, I say pick a lane, stick in the lane, stay in the lane.
That's right.
And just move forward.
Yeah,
and make sure, by the way,
that's what I'm saying. That's exactly
that's it. It's
just
pretty goddamn
go ahead, Kofi.
I don't understand how this is so complicated.
Even though I don't love many things they don't do, or I don't love a lot of things they do, Nintendo not only keeps the mystique up in terms of communication, it's really hard to track what they do as a first party developer. Sorry, I completely lost my train of thought there. For example, we don't really know how the management works for their first party studios, right? We know like a Zelda game will be made, a Donkey Kong game will be made, but we don't really know like the innards of it, and there's nothing for us to debate on.
Right.
But for Microsoft, the drama is all out, right?
It's there.
We got a full-on TV show. This person got fired, so they tweet about it, and I think there's just a better way to do it. So
it all boils down to consumer confidence and stability. When you are all wishy-washy and all over the place, whatever you're saying is good or bad or received in the public audience as good or bad, what it shows is that your platform is fundamentally unstable, and that does not go anywhere to foster consumer confidence. Sony, for as good or as bad as they are, or Nintendo, for as good as or bad as they are, they've been doing the same shit time and time again, year in, year out for decades. So people have said, well, this is just a stable platform. Microsoft, exclusives, no exclusives. Game Pass, no Game Pass. Day and date, not day. We don't even know where the fuck we stand. We don't know.
And now,
nothing's an Xbox. Like, oh my God, what the fuck are you doing?
It's true. You don't know.
This is the thing, right? For as much sort of controversy as PlayStation or Nintendo or whomever has had, whether it's suing Power World or Amiibos or physical discs and whatever DLC stuff and all the other shit PlayStation has done, that's it. At the end of the day, they still have a core identity, right? Which is, Nintendo is with their family-friendly, sort of fun, gameplay-centric games. PlayStation with their sort of high-tech, high-production, cinematic-focused games. And consumers know that. They know what they're getting. They love that, and they buy into it, right? And in addition to that, they have a decent cadence of quality. Like, look at even this year, right? Between Saros and Tokon Fighting Souls and Wolverine, and then you've got, I forgot they just announced it recently, Around the Corner, and then you've got Intergalactic and all sorts, right? It's just Lao Fei, God of War, Lao Fei. Like, you know what you're getting. And it looks spectacular.
I completely agree with you. That identity that they know, Nib, that's unbelievable. It goes.
Then in addition to that, they not only have the cadence of the kind of games that they've curated a consumer base for, but they also have that sort of fixed identity. Whereas Xbox neither has that cadence and doesn't have that sort of like it factor, whereas PlayStation can be known as like the HBO of gaming, Nintendo like the Pixar of gaming. But what is really Xbox's identity? And a lot of people say, no, they just do a broad stroke of everything, but it's kind of like jack of all trades, master of none.
Mm-hmm.
But the other platforms actually are masters in their craft.
Yes.
And yeah, I just think it doesn't hit. In addition to all the mixed messaging and stuff, it's like not only are you not getting that curated identity, in addition to that, they don't really know themselves where they want to be or what they are going to be. So it's just like everyone has said, it's just that confidence factor is not there.
Yeah. Now, so I have a couple super chats here. I've fallen behind. I apologize to you guys in the chat, but they are pertaining to this topic right here. Shout out to Babor. He says, "Can we move on from refugee therapy? Xbox sucks." Babor is here. The show can start. Everybody knows how Babor feels. The governor reacts. Interesting. He always says, "Mooch, I have engineered a solution for game ownership. Will the community embrace a real independent solution that is not the big three or a legacy IP?" Well, Governor, listen. I'll say this much: we're going to need some more facts or some more information on that, Governor. Not that you'd be willing to disclose that, but that's what we would have to have. I mean, would the community be willing to embrace an independent solution? Sure. But they, I don't know what your solution is, so I can't say yes to your solution. The OA, he says, if your studio was gutted and there's more layoffs on the horizon, would you lend workforce so another one can make a better game than yours? Xbox studios are competing against themselves. That's interesting. Nib, I didn't even think of that. That's an interesting point, OA.
Right.
He's saying basically, they're saying, hey, you guys go over there and help them. You guys go over there and help them. Don't get me wrong. That's actually kind of a great, feel-good story. But at the same time, it's like, well, what about our games? What about, and I know that DS made a great point. I think Obsidian...
That is a reach, though, because if they're creating two different kinds of games, how are they competing with each other? Like, if one's making a Wolfenstein and one's making a Doom, two different games in just, what their content is, right? It's like, well, if it helps Machine Games with a new Wolfenstein and then Machine Games helps them with a new Doom, then both games come out great, then you just have two great games, right? They're not competing with each other.
The thing is, though, that means that they will compromise their own product and studio, right? Because it doesn't come for free. If I give you my staff, then I'm short-staffed, right? I can't put those staff on whatever they would have been working on at my studio. So while it sounds great in theory, the practice of it can also lead to product diminishing on your side. So
then you're spacing out games, right? If their games jump first, you help them you keep a skeleton stack back to start building the game, and then you help them with their game.
What you're describing is basically a permanent support studio within a studio, right? But that still is going to cost a portion of your studio.
Yeah, but you're not full making one game. You're only full making one at a time, right? So they're not going to come out at the same time. One's going to come out and another one's going to come out 3 years after, or whatever.
Yeah, but they'll always be making a game. They're not going to be sitting around twiddling their thumbs.
Yeah, that's why you have the skeleton crew to help start building the game, and then you go and help whoever, right? As soon as the game's released, they start making the next game, right? They have a skeleton crew working on whatever. It's like starting to lay the foundations. Because once the first game's done, all the artists, their job's done. Once they're part of development, they're now working on the next project. They're drawing the art, doing everything they need to do.
I'm confused. So let me just let's just say in this scenario, instead of borrowing employees from another studio who probably need those employees, why wouldn't you just have more employees yourself to cover that difference?
Well, you just got rid of all those extra employees, right?
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah, but why were they extra though? If you have to go and grab more people.
Because right now imagine they've been used to producing games, say with 350 staff, right? 350 main employees plus outsourcing. Now you have 120, right? So and now you're expected to also lend out your staff. Already they're compromised massively. That they literally will have to reorganize the entire way that they produce games. Every single department, art, tech, design, engine, all of that has been gutted, and they're going to be expected now to lend out their stuff. I don't think that's feasible at all. If anything, they're going to be like, no, we need help over here. We can't give help. We need more help ourselves.
Yeah, but if each game is 4 years apart, then you have time to work on yours, and then once you've worked on theirs,
But they
release it.
didn't even have time when they had 350.
But
Right.
even with 300, but then it's
Remember, Avowed was like delayed how many times? You know, like a lot of these games, even Fable, it's been delayed 2 years in a row. Like we're talking like they have their organizational stuff on point right now. They didn't have it on
Starfield
point with
was also
22,000
yeah.
yeah,
employees.
but
How are they going to have
also
it on
wrong
point with
the
220?
organizational staff, right? People doing the organization, that's their problem. That's not the studio's problem.
But what I mean is
Wow.
having a surplus of employees and you still can't get it done. Now with half the employees, you expect them to be more efficient.
That's why
I don't think. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and then Meg, you can know because I'm piggyback off of Nib here. That's why don't take it from me because it was Mooch, you're just hating the id Software staff that was let go. They're like, what you're hearing is not necessarily the truth. That's not the entire story. So
No.
them getting let go and then saying we're gonna be okay. I mean, that's insider saying no. That's not necessarily the way. Not that they can't step up to the challenge. Maybe that's so, but like Nib just said, you had 350 people and you were late, quarter after quarter, delay after delay. Now you have less people and you're like, no, we got it. So that means either the game is going to be smaller in scope. I'm not going to sit here and say quality will be reduced. It's possible. One of the columns has to decrease, right?
Well,
something has to give because those people weren't just sitting around doing nothing. Like I'm not saying you particularly, Dessinger, but it's kind of very disrespectful to assume that 9,200 people were just sat around twiddling their thumbs.
Right.
Like these people were doing huge amounts of work, whether it's on art, textures, design, whatever. They weren't literally doing nothing. They've been cut off now. So someone will have to take the reins and do double, triple, quadruple the amount of work now.
That's not how it works anymore, because if you keep somebody on full time, then you are responsible for that employee full time. That means you have to do your deductions, your FICA deductions, you have to match, you have to do 401ks, you have to do insurance policies, you have to do all that other stuff. These days and times, the way these major AAA games are working is that you got a small group of people, like 120, 100 plus people, and then like all of the other stuff gets contracted out to these independent companies who do it. Right? Yeah. Now
they're still doing that though. They're still contracting it out even now. If they've just cut the main full-time employees, and now they're still doing the contracting stuff. So it's almost like bad on top of bad.
Well, no, what they feel that they can do is they feel that some of these jobs that were done by in-house full-time employees could be better got the same or similar sort of outcome, just hiring some outside subcontracting firm and get the same amount done.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's going to be significantly worse because that's actually how the inefficiencies in like 343.
I was just going to say 343
don't have the experience. They're having to learn on the job. Teach me the engine and what are the sort of discrepancies, what are the issues with it, what are the things I can and can't do. I've talked about it before on Glassdoor, how some of these contractors, when they left reviews on Glassdoor, they were saying the engine was a fucking mess. Like you do one little change and it would break like 10 different things, right? And obviously only someone experienced would know, okay, we can't do that particular thing. Because it will have all these other issues. Someone new comes in, has an idea, they do it, and suddenly that's another 6 months of work, because they've broken something fundamental. So, I mean, I get in theory, but I think it's Microsoft, either they're trying to cut fat to spin off, or they're being short-sighted again, which would be, not exactly anything new. They've been short-sighted for the better part of over a decade, right? And I think it will come to bite them on the ass.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do agree. And you used the example I was going to say, Nib, with 343. They had 1,200 contractors out there, people coming in. And you guys know this. Wise, you know as well. I'll use an example in your world, Wise. Tell me if it holds water. The minute you have a sick day and there's a substitute teacher, they come in, they have their credentials. Some of them have their master's degree, Wise. But guess what? They can't teach your curriculum. They're like, I don't know. They're like, he's not here today. Guys, just don't throw spitballs at me. It's like they don't do what you do. You have to ramp them up. That doesn't mean that the substitute teacher can't eventually be the primary teacher, but they need a lot of time, tutelage, and mentoring. And like you said, if you're going to do that, that's a lot of time you're going to lose. And Asha wants things fast. She wants them a lot faster than they were. So sometimes it just, a lot of the equation doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Now,
Well, here's the thing. If you want fast games, guess what? You're going to have to cut back like the size of the game, right?
correct.
Because the bigger the game, the
Yeah.
more shit you throw in it, the more time it takes. Look at PlayStation, right?
Right.
So obviously, like that cycle ain't going to work. So
Right.
they want like a 4-year or 3-year cycle. Well, if you want a 4-year or 3-year cycle, one, you're going to be reusing assets, which is going to help immensely. But then you notice people are starting to default to Unreal Engine 5, which is super easy for contractors because they already know how to use Unreal because they bounce from job to job and they're like, oh, it's Unreal Engine 5. Lovely. I know this. So you do that. And then it's like, obviously you have the specialized engines, but they've been around for so long that I'm sure a lot of people know how to use those particular engines. And then you have, for example, it's like, they're just going to make these games quicker, and they could be good quality games, but they don't have to be like a 100-hour game, like a big open world game. You can make like a nice 20, 30-hour experience.
Like an Assassin's Creed Mirage. Give us a taste of the Assassin's Creed world in a 20-hour package or a 25-hour package to get 1,000 achievement points or a platinum trophy. And it's a great game. I don't know if anybody's played it, but that's the kind of style. And like I mentioned before, like a Uncharted Lost Legacy or a Miles Morales or, like I said, an Assassin's Creed Mirage. Smaller experiences, but top AAA quality and very good games and exciting games that people want to engage in and do it for cheaper. Now, the thing is, this is the last thing I got to say before I do have to run. However, I was going to say this in regards to your conversation that you guys have been having. I don't think that a lot of games outside of what has already been sort of either rumored or announced are getting greenlit. I think that anything getting greenlit at this point has been stopped until these games get out the door. And they've already got, 3 Fallouts announced. You've got an Elder Scrolls 6. That's 4, right? Gears is about to come out. That's 5. Call of Duty's going to keep doing its Call of Duty thing. That's 6.
Right.
We haven't heard. We don't know if they're starting a new Forza Horizon. You've got your Fable and your Clockwork Revolution, and on, right? So I think beyond that, I think that you're going to get something from Machine Games or whatever, and then they're going to start working on sequels and sequels and sequels. Now, the thing is, remember, the crowd is fickle, okay? So the thing is, you can say, I don't want just Elder Scrolls every 3 years, but you know what? A lot of people do. And as a result of that, think about back to the Xbox 360, PS3 generation. We would get entire trilogies in one generation, and people loved it. Right? Don't forget, we got an Uncharted 1, 2, and 3 all on a PS3. We got Gears 1, 2, and 3 on an Xbox 360, all in the same generation. Right? And I think they want to get back to that. And the thing is, if the games are good, they will sell. And like I said, the common the common gamer, even the casual gamer, they don't give a shit. You know why? Because those are the same people who buy Madden every year, who buy Call of Duty every year, who buy FIFA every year. I don't give a shit that they call it FC. It's called FIFA forever. FIFA or NHL or whatever, or college football. And they see that and they will keep buying it. And that's why I think that they're going to go after that ABK model. So you're going to get a lot of sequels in the same series over and over, and I think that'll actually for them will work.
Mag, before you have to go though, and someone just brought it up on the chat. I'm going to get to the rest of the super chats too. But Mag, real quick, this whole thing that's being introduced today with the ads. Okay, what's your take and what are you hearing on that world? I have just trying to find the actual article that I have. There's a lot of articles. A lot of stuff came out today. A lot of news came out today.
Thanks, Gab House. I appreciate you, buddy. He just subbed to the channel. Sorry.
Oh, very nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
But what so they're instituting this ad. Is it for streaming only? Is it for?
No, the ad thing right now is a test. Okay, I literally just launched the video like 5 minutes before we went live here.
Oh, there it is.
So what it is that Matthew Ball announced it today, and what it is that it's a test for Xbox insiders only right now. And
That's
what
right.
it is that it's for clouds, it's for streaming. And so what it is that you can stream for free, even without even owning the hardware or being subscribed to anything. However, at the very beginning, you will have to watch ads. Okay. And the ads, they've already assured that the ads will not interfere with gameplay, nor will it affect gameplay.
That's correct.
It's just going to be at the very beginning, and then you get to play. Now, the test they're doing, you only get 1 hour at a time, okay? So that's a stipulation. But again, it's only a test for insiders. The reason why I decided that was newsworthy is because for me, I personally think that what this is a window into a new tier for Game Pass, which I know we've all suspected for many years, in the chat as well. I think this is the window and the first step of a new tier for Game Pass and part of their Game Pass amendments of when they're going to be changing how the service is going to run in the future. And of course, I think that the only way to do it is to offer, just like Disney, just like Prime and all the rest of them, they have the ad tier and Netflix. They'll be doing it for cheaper, maybe $12.99, $13.99, but you're not going to get day one. But you get the other games that are already in there, and then games will go in there in maybe 6 months down the road or a year down the road, kind of like how PS Plus does it with Sony first party, right? And then you have to watch ads. So now they're doing that as a test right now, and my guess is that's just the groundwork to see how people react to it, like the Xbox insiders react to it first, and then maybe next year, after Clockwork Revolution comes out, maybe they announce changes to the Game Pass service, and one of them will be an ad.
See, the thing, so yes, I think in part to the Xbox, cloud streaming. So it says here, Xbox Insiders reports, today we're starting to test an ad-supported way to stream select games from your library for a limited time, available to Xbox Insiders. During this test period, Xbox Insiders with an Xbox account will be able to stream games they own for free with ads. Players will have 1 hour session. This was originally tied to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, right? Streaming your games to stream, that was tied to Ultimate.
Yes.
Now they're saying they're going to have a tier where, as long as you're okay watching, McDonald's commercials, then you can play the games that you have in stream. First of all, this has got a couple of things working against this. I still don't think, listen, never talking absolutes. 10 years from now, streaming might be the wave of the future. Right now, it's not. So, like, how many people are like, oh my God, the Halo remake came out? Oh, I'm streaming that on my phone tonight. Not something I've really heard a lot. So, or streaming it to your TV, whatever. I just think that
also use it to stream to old hardware. They did mention that, which is pretty interesting, because I went into the article because Matthew Ball said it, but there was a link to an Xbox Wire article which gave more detail. And one of the details was it's going to be used. And now this is smart. This is actually a smart move, because I expected a lot of hardware to be like a current hardware to move with all the Xbox One and PS4 generation people who need to upgrade in order to play the new Call of Duty or GTA 6, right?
Right.
A lot of it hasn't moved. And as a result of that, they're saying, well, we're going to have to meet the people where they are. And we've heard that before. But the thing is, with this cloud streaming with the ad tier, they said that the people on Xbox One, now they're specifically talking about Xbox One will be able to play and stream Xbox Series games with actual current gen games that you wouldn't be able to play on an Xbox One and wouldn't support because of the hardware.
Right.
You'll be able to play those games and stream them on your Xbox One or your One S or whatever. So if you've got the old hardware, you can watch ads and be able to access current gen games on an old hardware, basically, which is what I've been saying forever. I said they're going to use the hardware as basically a streaming hub. So you're still plugged in. You're plugged into the internet, or you're on Wi-Fi or whatever in your home.
Yep.
So you're not actually streaming to a device like a smart TV or to your phone or whatever.
Right.
You can do all that.
You can.
However,
you
can actually do it with with an Xbox One.
Okay.
That's pretty. That might be something that could really help get a lot of those people from the last gen to start adopting current gen stuff.
How is it they're going? Why would it make them start to adopt when the current gen they have is playing the game streaming to them?
No, they're not going to. But what I'm saying is, a lot of people who are still in that last generation either are in a part of the world where they cannot access the hardware or cannot purchase it, or they simply cannot afford it, right? Or gaming is not like their number one thing, right? So like maybe they don't put as much precedent on it as we do.
As the new hardware.
Example, I wouldn't blink to buy $1,000 console like a next gen one, right? Well, I might blink twice, but I'll still end up buying it anyway. I'll just be pissed about it.
Right.
But the thing is, we'll do that. They won't. So then they're like, okay, well then we'll give them an access point. We're going to make money off of them.
Yeah, that I follow you there, and maybe I misunderstood it. I thought you said at the end it would be encouraging for them to then upgrade to the next generation console.
No, they could stay right there.
Stay right there. That's my point. That's where they would stay.
Just use it as a streaming box then.
Right.
Right? And then just utilize the hardware. It's going to be connected to their intranet, so to speak, right? So
correct.
Be in their ecosystem and,
that's right.
In their servers or whatever, and then they will be doing the heavy lifting.
Okay.
right?
Okay.
But on top of
shoot.
all that, they're accessing that new product, but they're going to have to watch, advertisements, which they make money off of that, and you're going to have to pay some kind of a fee at some point in order to access those games. So, like, they're going to make money off of that too. But I mean, it's worth a shot. I think it's a pretty cool idea.
No,
I don't see a problem with it.
I don't see a problem with it, but
option.
But this is not reinventing the wheel either. This is kind of already.
No, it's been done.
It's already here. They're just removing it from a paywall, and they're saying watch an ad, and then if I know a lot of people pay for the no ads on their Netflix or Disney Plus. Some of those are like $20 a month. If you do the ads, it's like $6.99 or $7.99.
And they're still finding a way, even when you pay for the no ads, you're still getting ads in one way. Like
Correct. Yes.
It's getting ridiculous to the point. And now they're raising the prices of the no ad ones to the point where it's unaffordable.
Yep.
You realize what they're doing? They're literally trying to conform us back to cable TV, where they're giving us no effing choice but to watch commercials because that's where they're making the majority of their money now. So they're forcing us out of what they created, and they're literally looping us back into how you and I grew up, Mooch, watching commercials or whatever. Because but it's getting irritating, yes, because when I'm watching something engaging, I'm watching House of the Dragon, and they're like, "My lord, the dragons are approaching," and they're like, and all of a sudden they're like, "Well, we must put," and then all of a sudden it cuts off and goes, "Do you have vaginal itch? Well, get this box." You know what I mean? It's like they cut into a fucking commercial halfway through a dramatic scene, and I'm like, "God damn it!" And then you know what I mean?
Well, wait, now
Mag, show. Now it makes me want to go pay the premium.
I don't think HBO does that. Does HBO do that?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Canada, Crave has that.
Right?
Listen, I'm
watching House of the Dragon, and they cut in the middle of a friggin' sentence.
Listen, I'm one of the only people because of New York
those
sports.
Ads are tailored, Mag. So what is going on with your vagina that you keep?
Oh, that's right. That's a great point.
It was the first thing that came into my heart.
No, I think when it comes down to it, so when it comes to HBO, I'm one of the only people who still has. I still get cable as well because listen, I got to watch my New York sports. And instead of having each app,
that's the only reason why.
So I get HBO through Verizon. So when I do that, when you do that, you also get the app, right? So you get that. So I don't have any commercials with HBO. I didn't. That's right. That's a great point. If you're just getting the app, absolutely. The Great Basement Radio Arcade podcast is here. No, Mag, I'm glad you could kind of run through that for us because I know that was something that. Listen, there's just some key words that really piss gamers off, and we've heard a lot of them over the past 4 to 6 weeks. One is digital. One is ads. They don't like it. They just don't like it. It doesn't matter how you sugarcoat it. They don't like it.
Right. Well, then you know what? The only way to stay out of that is to stay out of subscription services that are going to do that.
Right.
Like, for example, PS Plus wouldn't. They may do that, but I don't know. I don't really play. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I use PlayStation Plus and Xbox Game Pass literally for online.
Yeah.
Like, I don't consume anything on any of those. Like, my kids do. Like, my kids will download games because they can't afford games unless I buy it for them.
Yeah, the Game Pass is pretpretty much exclusively for online gameplay. Yeah. Yeah, I don't use a lot of. I don't
online,
and of course, you'll have a couple of gems out there. Like I'm looking forward to Gears, right? The Halo next week. But I'm supporting Halo anyways. I'm going to buy it on Steam, and I'll probably buy it eventually on PS5 too.
99% of games that I play, I purchase. And
correct,
because I'm picky and choosy. And the only reason why I have Game Pass right now, funny enough, is because Microsoft gave it to me when I went to LA. They gave me a package and like a swag bag thing. And one of the things, they gave me a chunk of Game Pass. I'm like, all right, cool. But other than that, I don't subscribe to it. I just buy the games if I want one, because not everything they offer I like. So I'll just buy one game or maybe 2 games, and that's it. And then the rest of the year, I'm like, I'm not interested in that. Plus, I got third party. Plus, I have PlayStation. You know what I mean? So I just pick and choose what I want. So for me, it's a non-issue. Like I said, I only use those services for online gaming, so I can play with the community if I'm streaming online on my channel, whatever. And so I just leave it at that. But yes, it will affect a lot of people. But the thing is, then people are going to have to, if they're going to have to avoid it, I'm just scared that they're going to do exactly what these other companies are doing, is that they're trying to revert us back to a point of cable with all commercials.
It's exactly it, man.
Ad-free. Yeah. They're going to make the ad-free ones so unaffordable that people are going to be forced to have the ads. And then these companies have this added revenue, which is, I don't know, it's unfortunate, but.
No,
anyways,
it is.
I do have to run, boys.
Yes, Mag, thank you, buddy. I appreciate you being here, buddy. Absolutely. The great Mag, everybody. Go over and check out Magcast. Mag, thank you for being here, buddy.
No problem. It was
Looking
a pleasure.
forward to your next visit already.
I accidentally put it in twice. I put the link to the channel in there if anybody wants to
Well,
check it out. Now, listen.
If you accidentally put one of those 3 to 6 month Game Pass codes into my DM, that would be fine.
Hands,
that's all right. It's okay.
My shaky alcoholic hands after last night's rock concert, I clicked the right button twice.
That's okay.
It was a rough show. It was a great show.
I saw the pictures.
The thing is, if you want to get it, check out a channel where I don't bullshit and I just say it like it is. People love me or people hate me, and that's all there is to it. And I don't give a shit. And I'm just going to say it how it is. This is my truth. This is the way I say it. And the thing is, I'll tell you something. I built my channel off of one phrase and one phrase alone. Authenticity is the currency of the future, and that's all it is. So I will say it like it is, whether it hurts my channel or whether it makes it better. And that's just what I'm going to do. And hopefully, and part of it is what with the maggots that we've already grown on the channel and what we've done over there is absolutely, yes, that's what we call the fan base. They're called the maggots. And the maggots are amazing. And we're all like one giant family over there and we do our thing, man. And it's awesome. And so, yeah, that's what we do over there. So if you're interested, come check it out. And if not, you want to call me a pony, that's totally fine too. It's all good. But either way, you guys have yourself
great
a
to
wonderful
have you,
evening.
Meg. Thank you, buddy.
Have a great night.
Always great.
Thank you, panel. Brap, sorry I couldn't stay and talk to you, buddy, but I gotta go, boys.
That's all right. We'll get you back on here, buddy. Great to have the great Mag, everybody. Mag, thank you very much.
Have a good one, guys.
Ocelot says, not enough people are talking about Xbox cutting $50 vendor spend. That includes contractors in which make up a lot of the development of their games. So, Ocelot, we just I believe we touched on that just a moment ago. Brap, if you're talking, we can't hear you. I can't hear you, Brap.
Oh, I wasn't even saying anything. Can you guys hear me?
Well, your icon was flashing. That's why I said that. Sorry.
Oh, you know, it could be because it picks up my
your fan. Do you have a fan on or something?
Yeah, my fan and my desktop back. I have a radiator here that's like close to the mic, and this thing keeps my PC, even when I'm running games at max settings.
Yes.
Ice cold. It's crazy.
Wait, what keps it ice cold?
The radiator that I have, and the
see what I did. It's funny.
What kind of a radiator is it?
It is. I don't know. It's
I just put, even though I have central air, I put in, because of streaming and everything else in this room, I just put a window, and they have these great window units now, guys. Here's a little tech talk for you guys.
I'm going to do air conditioning probably December.
Yeah.
Because someone told me if you do it during Christmas, it's significantly cheaper.
Well, I'll tell you, the unit I got for the window, this is one of those ones that goes on the bottom half there. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called, I'm going to call it see-through. Basically, the old units used to sit in the window and it would block the whole window. These go down and they sit on the ledge. So the half sits on the outside and the other half it's lower. So you have to have the ground clearance. But this has been, I have it on right now. I put the room at a beautiful 70 degrees because it's just it's a small room. It's just an office. I just have this smaller room, and this is my gaming room. So like, I just have this now. I can temperature control it. It is phenomenal because the house AC can't keep up with 3 monitors, 2 lights, a TV, 2 PCs on during a stream. It was just hot as hell in here. So this thing's been a godsend. I recommend it to anybody. I think Erica was listening to our Twitch stream a few weeks ago when I got it installed, and she goes, you know, Mooch, I sent her all the information on it because I said, she goes, I need that for my office as well. It's so damn hot in here. I said, yeah, even with central air, it doesn't take. So yeah, that's a good move, Brad.
No, but Mooch, you know, I think maybe it was Nib was asking me. I have a 360 millimeter MSI cooling fan. It's a triple fan. So, and then I have.
Oh, I see what you're saying. My fault.
Then I have 4 additional fans.
Your PC cooling fan is keeping your room cool. Is that what you're saying?
And that's it does.
Oh, that's crazy, dude.
And you can hear it running right now. This thing. The only thing I don't like about this PC is that the fans run a little loud.
Yeah.
But that's
I would assume I would expect them to run loud if you're cooling, 600 square feet.
Crazy.
I mean, no, but it's like I'm running. I'm playing Bond at like max settings, and like this thing doesn't even blink. It stays cool.
Yes.
Like it just.
Shout out to Corey. Corey Massey goes, I have a standing AC. It keeps my office at 68. I have this room right now at 70, and it is absolutely lovely. I can sit here. You can podcast. You're in comfort. It's nice. All these years you guys have been listening to me, I have literally been melting away as we sit in here with everything on. It's just crazy. So I don't know what the hell made me wait this long. I'm telling you right now, these units are anywhere from $300 to $500, and they're a godsend. You can actually enjoy if you're podcasting or you're streaming. It really helps. Maybe even need it for your own gaming room. It's a world of difference. I recommend it to everybody. Shout out to Francisco. I appreciate the follow. Thank you very much, buddy, or the subscription over here on YouTube. Signore, or the man, no, it's the man himself, the Spick and Span. He says, don't buy any more PS5 games, rent them on GameFly, and stop firmware updates. If buying games doesn't mean ownership, then pirating is not an issue. Arr. Let me tell you something. We're gonna get into the digital physical conversation in a minute. Listen, there's no, again, I say this all the time on the show since this has happened, is I've lived the life through the
Can
VA.
I just respond to that though?
Sure, Nib.
So let's just say in this notion where you want to compel PlayStation to change course, right? How would not buying games and them not making many, having any sort of push towards physical help your case? What people should be doing is, instead of buying digital, start buying physical. If you really want to show with your dollar that there is still a place for physical,
that's right,
you put the emphasis on physical. If you just didn't buy games, then what's going to happen is the same digital splits are going to continue or increase if enthusiasts stop buying even physical games, and then they're going to be...
Nib, I have to cut you off. You are asking too much of some people, because that's called common sense.
It's weird. It's like, that'll show them. It's like,
I'm not going to buy games. I'll show them, and then guess what? I mean,
then the digital splits will be higher, right? If enthusiasts to stop buying physical games,
Nib,
and then they'll be like, "Oh, we definitely
you're
made
asking
the right
too
decision."
much." He said,
"You're asking, Nib. You are asking way too much." Actually, somebody brought you up in a conversation on Twitter I'm having.
Right.
Someone's like, "Well, Nib thinks that, like, there's media bias against Xbox or something." I'm like, okay.
I never said that.
Maybe Nib's. I don't know. I don't know if that's the exact words, but he was implying that even Nib agrees with me, and I'm like, okay, like even if Nib does, that's not that's not proof of a broader, systematic trend of.
I would actually say
media bias against Xbox.
I would actually statistically, and you can go, if you go to my tweets now and type in Xbox tax, because Xbox fans asked me to do it. I actually did the research and went through the last 20 first-party games from Xbox, the last 20 first-party games from PlayStation, etc., and their scores relative to the Metacritic average across different sites, and actually more of them scored, certain sites were scoring Xbox games much higher than the averages than the other platforms, Nintendo and PlayStation. Yeah. And in addition to that, which I thought was more insightful, far more tentpole Xbox games have much lower purchase confirmed user scores or ownership confirmed user scores, and that's important because Metacritic and stuff can be user review bombed, right? So in terms of Steam and Xbox scores, which you have to own the game in order to review the game, by and large, with a lot of Xbox's tentpole games, they have much lower user scores and averages than they do Metacritic ones, right? And OpenCritic. Whereas conversely, with PlayStation, oftentimes their games have significantly higher purchase confirmed user scores than they do Metacritic average. So if we want to talk about overrated, underrated, biases, and so on, obviously, like, that's subjective, but objectively, gamers seem to prefer PlayStation's own games more than the critics do, and gamers, consumers, tend to not like Xbox games as much as the critics do. Really prevalent in games like Starfield and stuff, which, they're in like the mid 50s and 60s on user reviews, yet they're like 80 something, high 80s. Same with Halo Infinite and stuff like that. A lot of their tentpole games are way, way, way below the critic scores from users, whereas on the PlayStation side, Spider-Man 2, I think it's 96% on PSN and 91% or something, or 88% on Steam because of bugs. Last of Us 2 even is 91% on Steam, and I think 90-something% on PSN, etc. So even controversial games that have had, Spider-Man 2 had a lot of shit on it for being too woke. Last of Us 2 had a lot of shit on it for being too woke. Even those games, in terms of purchase confirmed user scores, are really high. Again, Last of Us 2 is 91% on Steam.
So I want to kind of get into the physical digital conversation. Let me just read. I got a couple super chats here, Brett, from our last topic. And if you guys want to harp on it, let me know. Glinter says they lost 64 cents for every dollar. This one, Brett, what you missed was we kind of went down the entire we went down a rabbit hole. It started with the Xbox VP of Engineering, and then the Game Pass not really working out. And you had the Forza Horizon 5 creative director saying it's unfortunate Game Pass didn't work out. We kind of went down that whole thing. So you can chime in whenever you like. 5.0 Trey Gaming says, blessings from Seattle. Go Seahawks. Trey, thank you very much for the super chat, buddy, and being a member of the channel. I would like to say let's go Giants, but it's a little early for that. But since I'm a Mets fan, I am already on football mode. So you are correct, Trey. The Gaming Ledger says new tech shouldn't mean leaving behind all games. Quoting Asha, was she hunting at new tech being Helix leverage old games to build up the Xbox PC store? I think that was something that Mag was kind of. I'm paraphrasing. That's not what Mag said. What they're trying to do here with these new ideas and leveraging new tech shouldn't mean leaving behind old games and maybe even some old hardware. If we're going to go ahead and say that an Xbox One can still stream games, that's going to be interesting. So Ledger, thank you. Ledger may be on the show next week, by the way. Shout out to Ledger. Highlander says, hey, Mooch, good luck. Let's go Dodgers. I think the Dodgers are coming into town. I believe we're playing them, the Mets. Yeah. Listen, I got news for you. You're going to play down to the Mets. We'll play up. Hopefully we split the series. We'll see what happens. Babor says, panel, can you name it one Xbox? This is great for you guys. Nib, you're going to love this. Kofi, and Wise, get you guys ears open. DS, I can't wait to hear what DS says. Panel, can you name one Xbox studio that is better than Asobi, Santa Monica, Insomniac, Naughty Dog, Polyphony, Digital, Guerrilla Games, Sucker Punch? He's asking for one Xbox studio that's better than those.
Oh, sorry. Can you repeat that, Mooch? I didn't hear that.
He said, the panel, can you name one Xbox studio that is better than Asobi, Santa Monica, Insomniac, Naughty Dog, Polyphony Digital, Guerrilla Games, Sucker Punch? So he's asking...
The only one I'd put up there, potentially, is Playground Games. But obviously, they do their bread and butter, and they haven't diverged beyond that. After Fable, I'll come back to this conversation.
Yes.
But yeah, the only studio I would say is Playground Games. But aside from that, no. Like these studios, I made a tweet about it the other day. Like look at the last few games they've released. Like from Housemarque, Returnal, Saros, from Insomniac, as in mainline games, Rift Apart, Spider-Man 2, and now they're doing Wolverine. Guerrilla Games, Horizon Forbidden West, and then previously Horizon Zero Dawn. Naughty Dog. Last of Us 2, Uncharted 4, previously Last of Us. The last few games that they've made, Sucker Punch, Ghost of Tsushima, Ghost of Yotei, and then previous to that, was it Infamous Second Son?
Yes.
Basically, the last few games they've made are like the best and most successful games they've ever made in their studio history. So whatever you want to say ill about PlayStation, and there's a lot of stuff they fucked up on, their actual studio management has been so strong that these studios keep going from strength to strength. So yes, they've closed studios, like that were working on live service games or never released a game, but their bread and butter tentpole studios have actually just been going from strength to strength.
Yeah.
But like, for example, I'm trying to think of a studio I really love that's under the Xbox umbrella. I love the Gears of War franchise, but I don't know if I love the games Coalition as released since.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Same with me.
And then I'm trying to think, like, what's the weakest
Same with
studio
Halo
on
for me.
PlayStation?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let's not even talk about PlayStation. I mean, Halo's Descent.
Yeah.
But I guess
Rare was one of my all-time favorite studios. They literally made multiple games that were my favorite of all time.
Yeah.
And then
they're gone. They're just gone.
Even Black and White, one of my favorite games, Black and White. And then they got bought by Xbox. I thought, oh my God, incredible. They're going to have these type of games on Xbox. Again, squandered.
Yeah.
What do you think, DS?
I was also a fan of Turn 10, but then the last Forza Motorsports, their online has just not been. There's too much chaos when you race online, and I'm a big Gran Turismo player, so I kind of like clean racing. Call me a little bit of a snob or whatever, but so I can't really give it to Turn 10 either. And of course, now they're like defunct. So yeah, I don't know if I have an answer for that. I think the PlayStation Studios would win out on that. Like, I'm honestly trying to play devil's advocate and think of one that I really like, but
Well, it also has this nuance. It's like, for one, it's opinion. What you think is better or better, right?
True.
Because it's like in 2018, some people would argue Red Dead should have won Game of the Year. other people argue that God of War is a better game than
But that's
Red
not an
Dead.
Xbox Studio.
No. But I'm on about his personal opinion, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what do you think is better because you are the gamer? And then it's like, well, let's say you're a main RPG fan. Well, now the conversation is nuanced because it's like, well, PlayStation really don't make RPGs, so we can't have the conversation because they don't make anything in that genre. So I'd have to default to the people that do. Now, if it was a conversation between Nintendo and Xbox, then we could have that conversation. So it's, again, there's a lot of different angles to this. So given that RPG is my main genre, I have to default to those who actually make the kind of games. So I would say, like,
Okay.
you know, because I have no choice. I have no choice in this.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. Yes.
You can also make an argument for id, but it is not really an Xbox Studio per se. I really do like Doom. I mean, that's just
And now
my favorite
Xbox has
franchise.
gutted them.
Yeah, and now there's
I literally gutted them. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like more people on this podcast than there. I think that there's, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I would say my Kofi, you said Coalition, and then you followed it up with a great point. Is Coalition would have been the one I would have ran to.
Yeah.
But I will be honest with you, Coalition took over from Epic back, taking over for 4 and 5. And 4 and 5 did for me. I'm not talking about sales, I'm not talking about meta. They didn't hit for me. I think Gears E-Day is going to personally hit for me, but I also feel like it's extremely safe. Like extremely safe. They
that
did,
was my thought too. Because when I saw the trailer for E-Day, I was like, oh, I got a little bit of chills.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, all right.
But I didn't, the question wasn't about the future, right? It was about today. So I was like, I can't count E-Day right now.
I'll say one that is weird. I feel like I'm cursed with Xbox because the games that I do end up really liking, the studio relationship or whatever never fares well. So like, I love Hi-Fi Rush. I loved Ori. Then they broke up with obviously the studio that made it. Then Hi-Fi Rush, they axed the studio. Doom Eternal, Doom the Dark Ages, I actually enjoyed a lot more than people on this panel. Again, they axed the studio. I will say Indiana Jones and Machine Games seems to be safe for now because I also really love that game. Even Hellblade too. Do you remember, Mooch? I was one of the most favorable on the panel, even versus the Xbox guys. I was like, no, for the type of game it is, I really enjoyed it. And now they've been shit up as well. So it's like I can't catch a break. I'm just gonna say from now on, now I hate it, and then maybe Xbox will keep them around. I don't know.
Therein lies the fundamental problem why we're having this discussion, because all of these developers on PlayStation sides have had opportune time to just hone their craft over and over again. They kept iterating and iterating. We went from Sly Cooper to Ghost of Tsushima to Ghost of Yotei. You went from Jack and Daxter to Uncharted to The Last of Us. It's like they are allowed to sort of iterate and go back and see what worked, what didn't work, and nip and tuck. And now they are hitting on all cylinders. And Xbox, unfortunately, games come out, don't do well, axe them. And so these development houses have not had time to go back and say, okay, this is what worked last time, this is what didn't work last time, let's see how we can improve things anymore. And see, therein lies the problem.
And take risks, right? Like you have Uncharted 3 and Uncharted 4, whatever, these games sell amazingly well, but then they're like, all right, you can do Last of Us, all right? Whatever, Sucker Punch did pretty well with, Infamous, but you can do Ghost of Tsushima. You can do this other tangent as well simultaneously, and that.
But Uncharted 1 didn't do well. It wasn't until Uncharted 2 that it really went through the roof. Right?
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Shout out to Silver Wolf. He says 80% of PC players have PCs weaker than the Pro. This is we've discussed that. Listen, I can't sit there, Silver Wolf, and say the 80%'s right. I don't have the article in front of me, but I know that the number's higher than some expect. And the OA says, always nice to hear Mag talking about HBO ads. It always is, OA. So I'll move over to this topic that I know Brap has been extremely adamant about following. And I know, Nib, you were, especially the first 3 weeks. You've had a couple weeks off with family, friends, and you haven't been on X as much. So we'll get into it a little bit here. But the PlayStation 5 situation with the digital physical, it's week 5, I believe. Some people are saying that the boycott is losing its steam. I will say this, a couple things that forget the fight that's going on online between gamers. The GameStop CEO says ending of physical game discs, in quotes, doesn't matter at all. And the great Eric, the producer, you guys know, he just sent me an article right now, published 6 hours ago. He says Ubisoft CEO says ditching physical games, in quotes, helped PC gaming, and PlayStation ending discs won't, in quotes, disturb the industry much anyway. That's the Ubisoft CEO. So what happens is now you have GameStop coming out and saying that. You've got Ubisoft, which we always knew that the big publishers like Ubisoft, EA, Xbox is in this too. They want to all go digital. But when GameStop was like, do whatever you want to do, right? So it's like, oh man, that was like that was a pillar there that a lot of people were like, well, we thought we'd get some fight. They didn't really put up much of a fight. Yes, if you've been in a GameStop lately, you realize they sell shirts and those figurines. What is it called again, Wise?
Funko Pops.
Yes,
it's a Funko Pop store. Yeah,
the Funko Pop. Yes. So I want to ask Brap. It's great to have Coach back on the show for these few weeks here before football season. I don't know if you guys saw John Harbaugh was out there ramping up the New York Giants, but as soon as John Harbaugh was done, Brap took over. Brap, real quick, we were wondering, what is your take on the digital physical? What are your thoughts here as we kind of go into week 5? The boycott seems to be losing a little bit of steam. Maybe that's just a natural matter of fact, or do you think that because listen, I said this a million times. I also want physical to stick around because I like the option. But I grew up, Brap, we grew up during the VHS era. We grew up during the cassette tapes era, the CD, the DVD, the Blu-ray. They're taking it all from us, Brap. So I'm like, well, it seems like another thing they're taking away from us. But so you sit there and you guys know this. I've said it on the show when this wasn't a topic. This was back in last generation, 2017, 2018. I was telling crap. Back then, I was 70-30 digital. And as we progressed into this generation, I kind of went 90-10, And that's not because of I have the convenience factor, the game sharing. You get 2 licenses with 1 purchase. I don't have to buy it again for the kids. They can just use it, on family share. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of stuff that happened. But I do like, and you guys know I've said it all the time. Shout out to the great Gaming Forte. I love walking into a GameStop. I'll still go buy a game physical for just for shits and grins. I'll buy it. I like to have it. Sometimes I'll double dip. But Brap, where are you after week 5 of the boycott?
I don't care. I honestly
Brap,
I don't care
you.
anymore. I mean, look, and for those who are collectors of physical media, I get it. Like, I understand that, but the issue that I have is that, and where I've hit a point now where it's hard for me to have empathy for people now on social media when I say things like, the things that Nib had mentioned earlier a few minutes ago about, I'm never going to buy games again. I'll show them. Okay, well,
right.
You're just going to increase the digital attach rate, right?
Footprint
for game
grow,
sales. Like, you're just going to, And so it's like, it's. And I think some of this is performative. I think some of this is the era of rage culture we live in. I'm not saying that they aren't good conversations to be had around digital rights as it relates to consumers.
That's the next fight. That's the fight. Digital rights fights is something we should be fighting for big time.
But no one's doing that. It's all they took away our games. We'll show them greedy corporations. It's like, no shit, they're greedy.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't new. Like, that's not even, to me, that's not even a legitimate complaint. All corporations are greedy.
No.
They want our money.
Yeah.
Like, there's this relationship between consumers and corporations, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, if you feel like, hey, I don't want to buy physical media, and that's the flag that you choose to plant. Understand that the reality of the situation is that you aren't going to do anything to stop this train from arriving at the station.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not going to happen. And look, I think there's good conversations around, like I said earlier, around digital rights that we should be that we should be discussing. Not everyone's doing it. I've seen a handful of people on social media, but the reality too, Mooch, is that the folks on social media represent such a small piece of the pie, and it's almost, to me, it's almost comedic at times when I'm looking at them and they think that putting a petition on X is going to change the direction that PlayStation is heading. It's like, no, it's not. Like they have, PlayStation has all the data. They know the percentage of consumers that buy digital, and it's not just PlayStation. Like people keep harping on, well, PlayStation first party games, so those aren't real numbers. They don't sell, a lot of digital. It's like, okay, but the rest of the industry is selling a lot of digital. EA's reporting they sell a lot of digital. So we know that other publishers are seeing this trend too, and Sony is going to cash in on this. And part of this, I think, too, is because of the rising cost of console gaming, right? And,
yes.
And Sony looking at ways, as most companies do, when the increase to produce goods goes up, they often pass that off to the consumer. And yeah, it sucks, but as consumers, we also have choice. People always forget about that.
Yep.
These are things that are happening because I think of current economic headwinds and Sony's looking to keep people engaged in the business now. And part of this too is, look, there's no more boom period anymore in the console space. We've hit a market now that's mature, right, in the console space. Yeah, you'll get some new people onboarded. I think you guys were talking about that earlier, but it's not going to be. It's not the early 2000s anymore. It's just not. And that doesn't mean that companies can't be successful in mature markets. I mean, there's other examples of mature consumer markets where companies are successful. You can look at film, television, fast food chains.
Yeah.
But my point to all this is that I think that some of this is just people being angry for the sake of being angry. And it's like, look, you have a choice as a consumer. You're either going to bow out from playing games, and I'm not doing that. Look, I love the option of buying physical and then going to GameStop to trade in my disc.
Yep.
I'm not totally thrilled that it's going away, but at the end of the day, like me, Brap the consumer, I'm not going to stop buying video games because I want to be entertained.
Right.
Like that's just not something I'm going to stop doing.
Yeah.
I'm just not. And I think, and I would believe that 90%, maybe 90+% of the consumer market's not going to blink an eye. They're just going to be like, we want video games and we want to be entertained. And if that means sitting on my couch and clicking a download button.
Yeah. And it's funny. We said this all the time. We're like, well, what about the upcoming generation, right? So the new generation of younger gamers, they don't care about this fight. They're not even gonna. It's not that they're not gonna help you. They don't know why you're fighting. Like everything in their life is digital. Everything.
I mean, everything. Is literally.
I understand. I grew up through it. I'm not joking. I had VHS. I remember like when CDs became the thing, and I looked at the VHS. I was like, "What the hell am I? What am I going to do with this thing?"
Mooch, we moved on.
I threw the VHSs out, and I basically bought all CDs, right, or DVDs. Now, hear me out, Brep. Then we took the DVDs, and then I bought them all digitally.
No, but this is like being upset.
That's what really happened.
This is like being upset that your TV is no longer being able to show standard definition movies. You have to you have to have everything in high definition. Of course, you have to have everything in high definition. But nobody watches shit in standard definition on CRT tubes anymore.
Yeah,
I mean, why are you?
The only thing I don't agree with that analogy is that high definition in every sense is better than standard definition, right? But physical still has inherent benefits over digital. Digital may have convenience factor, but physical has ownership, reselling, trading, borrowing, lending, all sorts of things, right?
Absolutely.
So I can't.
Yeah, but Nib, you love numbers. Nib, you love numbers. So here's Matt Piscatella, 2 PlayStation video games. I know you saw sold more than 10,000 physical units in the U.S. 7 have sold more than 100,000 physical units year to date. And I believe of the 7, one of them only sold over 275,000. It's just the problem is the arguments that I've seen, and you guys don't understand. I'm with you. I really am. I have physical media behind me. I have physical media in the other room. Like I have it. I'm just saying to you that like the numbers aren't there to support the fight, and that's not me or this panel. It's the public.
And I also, remember petroleum's used to make plastics and stuff, and so there's that.
Yeah.
There's a rising cost. There's one day the Strait is open, the next day it's not. So there's that.
Right.
But
The thing is, with this whole, I agree with all of that, right? So for me, it's not performative. 70% of my game purchases are physical. I also only buy as many games as I do because I do trade in or sell some of them, right? Not all of them, a portion of them, because those are my impulse buy games. Like I wouldn't buy a day one game for 40, 50, 60 quid on an impulse if I was not able to resell it, because I bought that on an impulse. It's not really something I'm that interested in. If I wasn't able to buy physical games, I probably would curate how much I buy a lot more, because I'm not going to be buying, 50, 20, 30 games, day one, full price. No way. So in those sense, I'm sure they've got the data, but they may not understand the culture and decision making behind some of that physical adoption, and also the sort of underbelly of consumers that rely on resale and whatever into gaming, but do also contribute towards more purchases, despite also buying, resold games and stuff, and used games as well. They also buy new games as well. So when they're gone, I think the problem, like the fear I have, right, well, twofold. One, people always talk about margins, and the majorities, right? The majority of PlayStation's revenue is made from 10 live service games, right?
Right.
It does not mean that they should just stop making single player tentpole games and just concentrate on live service, or not bother investing as much.
Hold on, Nib will be right back.
Sorry, I was going to say there's more other ramifications and positives to investing in the single player tentpole side of things, just as physical still draws a consumer base, right? It may not be as nearly as big as the digital, and it may be dwindling, but it is still a consumer base. Like we have seen some of the splits that are publicly available. Obviously, PlayStation does not give the splits for their individual games, but a lot of PlayStation games specifically have very high physical splits. Right, even Astrobot, we know from Sakana, 60% of Astrobot sales were physical. Right, that's more than half that were physical. So PlayStation specifically, they actually have a lot of, which makes sense because they're single player games. Maybe a lot of people will sell them on or trade them, lend them, etc. So that's the one thing. Like just because of the majority is doing one thing, it doesn't mean you have to completely reject the minority. Right?
Yes, I agree.
So I'd love to give a little bit of a different perspective.
Okay.
Definitely interrupt me because I might ramble on for a little bit. So, as a person who I buy, and I'm sure there are other gamers who, some are in the UK, so you buy games on the store from different regions. And right now, I think like one of my biggest complaints, if we're heading into this all digital era, is PlayStation just has a lot of overhaul work to kind of unify the store as a whole. And just to give you an example. Some of the horror games that I really like that are on the like for example the Siren games that came out on PS3 and then were remastered on PS5. I own some of the Japanese versions of those games, but sometimes those games have a adult rating, okay, like a Z rating, which is like a Sero is like the what's the rating system here?
So PEGI in Europe, Sero in Japan.
PEGI in Europe.
And ESRB in America.
Yes.
If you have a Z rating on a Japanese game on the PlayStation Store, you need a Japanese credit card to buy it. So moving forward, if there's any sort of Resident Evil type game that hits that, or for example, Rise of the Ronin, if I own the Japanese version, or if I want the Japanese version, I typically buy it physical because that's just what I want. That's my option. Now I would never be able to buy any Japanese game if it happens to have like a high violence rating. And then, a lot of people might ask me, are there many physical games that are only coming out in Japan? Well, I happen to be playing two. Falcom just released an RPG that I have in the mail coming, and then another one that arrived last May. So there is still like
what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do now, Kofi? Because you bring a good point. So what are you gonna What are you going to do now? Because you've been on this show a dozen times and said, well, guys, I'm glad you guys are enjoying that game. My copy isn't here yet. It's coming this week, and I'm getting the Japanese version. So what are you going to do?
Okay, right now, I'm going to still appreciate the PlayStation 5 ecosystem because it's still delivering exactly what I want.
Correct.
I also am a PC gamer. I built a PC like right before the pandemic, and I use that for things like Baldur's Gate 3. I eventually will rebuild, like I will have another PC built to kind of be future proof, maybe 2028, which is funny. It kind of coordinates with the disc. But I do not imagine ever leaving the PlayStation ecosystem because there are still some Japanese games that first released on PlayStation. Again, wait, where's my Death Singer knows. The next Legend of Heroes game, it only comes to PlayStation in Japan at release. Like it comes to Steam later, but I'm not a guy who waits for my particular JRPG. That's just what I will play. So when Falcom or some other niche JRPG series is released to PlayStation 6 and it's only on PlayStation 6, that is when I'm buying the console. So and then of course there are some first party games that I like, but it's going to be a painful transition for me.
Yeah.
Brad, you brought it up. Like, we're not going to abandon PlayStation just because of this. But was I throwing my phone on the ground and, yelling obscenities? Heck yeah, I was. I was.
Yeah, me too.
Um,
And it wasn't performative. It's because I used that shit.
you are right. It's just I don't want to play the Japanese version with the fan translation. I'd prefer to wait the extra year and then let the Falcom game come with the already translated.
Yeah. That I don't blame you, DS. Yeah, because don't forget though, Kofi speaks that language. He's dual.
Well, yeah, but
dual
it's like Falcom games always release in Japan first, then come to the West later, right?
Yeah.
So they have gone quicker. So shout out to Falcom.
Yes,
They have
they're
gone
getting
quicker at it.
Yeah.
Like it's generally a year now, or so and so, such and such.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like obviously I can deal with that, but if you want the Japanese version, like I played the Japanese version of Beyond the Horizon, and as much as I appreciate fan translations, they are a bit janky. So yeah.
I was going to say, Mooch.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Carry on. Carry on.
My biggest fear about this whole situation, like I mean, I used to be a straight physical guy. You buy the collector's editions. And everything like that.
Same, buddy, same.
And I mean, I showed y'all a photo. I was literally playing freaking Dragon Quest VII remake underneath a fucking waterfall, and like that's when I mean, I was already fully digital before then, but this is probably what sort of put the nail in the coffin for my physical purchases going forward, because I'm never going to get an experience like that. But then on the end of it all, with all the physical stuff coming out, I mean, my biggest fear right now is price regulation. Like, if PlayStation is the only place I can play PlayStation first party IP, then there probably is never, it's going to be like a Nintendo situation. I'm going to be paying $60, $70, $80, whatever they price these things going forward in fruition, because I don't have the option of going to a physical store and maybe seeing that same game on a sale, because physical goes on sale much more often than a digital does. And that's what is my biggest fear
I agree.
about this whole situation. Yeah,
I completely agree with that. There's a couple of super chats here. One goes to you too, Nib. So hold on, this because you can definitely add on here. The OA is, gamers had a unique moment in history to unite around true ownership. Instead, people chose social network rage for brownie points. Then L. Brown says, you have someone on Twitter say they're not buying PlayStation games anymore, and their last console was an Xbox 360. The protest failed, he says. The OA says, and I know it hurts, but every company has plans for the future, not for the present. Physical is not going up. That's the reality. That's the thing. So I think what Nib was saying earlier, where there's still physical benefits, those benefits are true, but the problem is that they're going to be those benefits will eventually dwindle if they're not going to support physical. Like maybe other third-party publishers wouldn't support. Maybe Ubisoft wouldn't support. Who knows what these guys are going to do? And Babor, this is for you, Nib. He says, then Nib, if you're a millennial or older, you'd know if a game is good by looking at the back of the box or trailer. Be better. I never missed that way. What do you think, Nib?
Yeah, all right, Nosferatu. we might have completely different tastes in art and style.
Another gripe I just want to throw out. Sorry to interrupt. Another gripe I want to throw out is they just need to manage how long a game stays at MSRP now that they're able to get such a larger cut, and more frequent sales. But and this is especially bad on the Japanese store side. Like there's an RPG I've been interested in. It's a soccer RPG game by Level 5, the people behind like Ni no Kuni and things like this. It has like almost never gone on sale digitally. And it's an only digital game, unfortunately. It was supposed to come out physical and then they canceled it. And it's just little things like that I wish there was a little bit more flexibility. Steam does it way better, right? And there's a much better review community on Steam. So there's just a lot of work if PlayStation.
So I would say with digital in general, right? Like they're specifically curated timeframes for sales, like wait for the summer sale. But sometimes you just get interested in the game.
Yeah.
You go on digital and it's like full price and you're like, what the fuck? And then you go Google it online and there's like multiple stores that have it on sale, some that don't.
That's right.
So you always have that option of getting it cheaper. Whereas digital, you're at the behest of whatever timing they choose.
That's right.
So even that is really frustrating. I have that all the time. Like sometimes I'll give away my games and I'll rebuy them. I'll give them to family and stuff. And again, like I'll go on PSN and GT7 is like £70. I'm like, what the fuck? It's been out for like 3 years. Then I'll go on Amazon. It's like £25. So I'll buy it that way.
Is still $60 on digital on the Nintendo eShop.
That's what I'm saying. But just 2 points I was going to make. So one, because I've heard a lot of like the corporate, I don't want to say bootlickers, but let's just say the defenders, right? Oh, the margins. Oh, they make more on digital. Yeah, no, fuck, they make more, right? But you don't always just support the thing that makes more money. Like if tomorrow they said, oh, look, you know what? I know Uncharted used to come with a multiplayer and Gears of War used to come with a multiplayer, but costs have gone up. Now we have to release the multiplayer separately and the single player separately, and the weapons and skins and stuff that you used to have in the game. Well, costs have gone up. We have to do them separately now as well and make them all MTX and stuff like that. You could go on forever about the ways that they could increase their margins because of increasing costs, but fundamentally, PlayStation has made more profit this generation than every single PlayStation generation combined. And I've said that many times on this show. Yeah. You can't, on the one hand, boast about their strategies in playing out and this and that. And on the other hand, say, oh, they're not making enough money. They need to squeeze even more. And therein lies my other thing. I will just add, I understand that the market speaks, not me. So there is a part of me, even though I detest this, and I think you, Brad, and you, Mooch, you're tight roping us into a really dangerous future.
I don't agree. Hold on. I'd like to first. I'd like to perfectly clearly state that you're wrong there. That's not at all what I'm saying. So you can't really say that. I'm telling you that.
No,
I'm telling you it's
digital 90%.
Well, yeah, but I've been doing that since 2017, not since this argument.
I know.
Well, I know, but that's not. Yeah, but
everyone who's bought digitally has brought us closer to this position, right? And that is what I'm saying is, even though it's not my preference, I understand the market.
So you're saying a restaurant we used to have to go into, stand in line and wait and get. Now that same restaurant 15 years ago started a drive-through. They closed the inside, but because I went to the drive-through 10 years ago, which you've also visited the drive-through, I'd like to add that
a few times.
Listen, 1 is the same as 100. So
what I'm saying
to you is,
even though it's not the way I game, I appreciate if consumers have decided that is how they want a game. At the end of the day, the market speaks, right? So I'm not naive.
No, you get it. I know you get it. I know you get it.
The masses. However, I do think, and this is my prediction, right? I think actually all of this is fundamentally leading to a situation where they are planning to do the Apple model of squeezing more and more from a core enthusiast group.
Yes.
And to make up the margins from the enthusiasts rather than smaller amounts from the masses. And I think because we have increasing production costs and stuff on the console, basically what they're looking for is to fatten up the pay pigs, right? Okay, we're probably not going to sell as many consoles this time around, right? Because this shit is going to cost 800, 1,000, whatever. Who knows what it will cost, right? It's going to be expensive. It's not going to have the same initial adoption. And for all we know, it might stay that price for a long time. So what's the alternative? If you're, speaking to your shareholders and you want to keep those margins and that growth increasing, if you can't get it from a larger install, then the only other way is to extract more from the smaller install,
right? Absolutely, 100%.
And the thing is, right now, not only are they going digital only and having the higher cut, but they have a monopolized situation on how it's distributed through their store. It's not like Steam. There's not multiple different code suppliers and different GOG and all this other stuff, right? They control everything and they curate everything. And I do think they are just gonna extract more and more and more from a smaller and smaller percentage of consumers. And I do not want to be that consumer who's
Nib,
extracted more from.
Nib, so here's the thing. I think what you're saying is spot on, by the way. And I bet you that is exactly the model that inside Sony and these other publishers are all thinking the exact same thing you just said out loud. The thing I'm saying to you is, though, is we had a conversation on this show, and listen, it was in passing because it wasn't the last 5 weeks. It wasn't when Sony made the announcement. It was maybe a year ago, Nib. And we were just talking about the PS6, and we were talking about it wasn't Helix, it was the next Xbox, we were calling it. And we said we were just, it was in passing, and nobody took it that serious because this wasn't a subject. We were like, oh well, when do you think? Because we were talking about like the add-ons for the physical media for the PS5 Slim and the Pro.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, I got one, and you're like, oh, I got one too. So it's like, okay. And we were like, well, what do you think PlayStation? And we were all like, oh well, PlayStation 6 will have the same thing or something similar. They'll give you an option for a cheaper one, right? And then they'll have another one there where you can attach it. Right. Okay. So you're probably going, Mooch, where are you going with this? Where I'm going with this was, I remember saying to one of you guys that are on the panel, we were saying, well, when do you think they're not going to have that? And everyone was like, everyone thought about it. No, and they were like, probably like PS7. Right. And everybody was okay with it on the panel. I was like, well, PS7, because we were kicking the problem down the road. Right.
You're so right. No, you're speaking facts.
Yeah. No, so what happens is, what I'm saying to you, Nib, you're not wrong, but it's inevitable.
Where we are at now is too soon because too many millions of consumers still buy physical, right?
So wait a minute. So wait, Nib,
leaving millions on alert.
Nib, right? I agree, but let me add your stats. I'll add to your stats.
Yeah.
You think going a whole nother generation of 7 or 8 years, that's more physical media people would have bought. That's more. The numbers go up. Not more. Listen, not more in sales, but more people who buy physical will, like Kofi. Kofi would continue to buy physical for the next 8 years through the PS6, right? That would make it even harder for him to deal with than it is even. So what I'm saying is we brought this up. We had it in past discussions. Again, not with so much angst because we weren't taking it so serious because we thought we had another generation. We were kicking the can down the road. But now all Sony said was we're moving it here instead of here. But when we said PS7, everybody was like, oh, yeah. Well, naturally. I mean, of course. That's what people were saying on the panel. And now they brought it up.
I agree with what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
I agree with you too.
Yeah.
But I'll just say this. I do think, and maybe I'm wrong, we'll come back to this in 3-4 years, right?
Right.
I do think this is and people are going to be like, no, it's future thinking. I think this is a short-sighted move, right? And I think what they are going to do is make gaming, at least for PlayStation, even more of a luxury than it ought to be. And I do think it will massively slow down adoption even more than just high console prices. Because I think there is an element of, okay, the console is high priced, but I can get discounts on physical games and I can buy, sell, share, trade, buy, use, whatever.
Yeah.
And that takes some of the edge off.
Yes.
And there is because we're in a good financial position. Most people are not like us, right? Like the average wage in the UK is like fucking £26,000. And I think, how would you even live on that? Like, I don't even understand. Like, it doesn't, you know what I mean? So I'm not being bad to people who do earn that. And I feel that.
Let me ask
I
you a question.
understand.
Are you thinking, are you saying, are you implying that PlayStation might be digging themselves their own ditch? Because
yes, I do.
Because
I think when they this curated high margin, high earning, high buying, I think that is a very temporary, sometimes kind of consumer base to have. And just as much as they can be enthused, they can wane and they can move elsewhere. And if you make one mistake or two mistakes, or there's a gap in your output or cadence or whatever, or a competitor offers more, when you lose that, it has much more of a detrimental impact because you don't have the masses anymore. You don't have as much of the large consumer base to sort of go from. You were relying on a smaller and smaller margin of really high spenders. And I think that can have detrimental impacts later down the line. And you no longer have that underbelly of sort of the the non-luxury consumer-based buying anymore. But again, it really depends on what their output and everything is like over the next 5 to 10 years. I can't obviously foresee that, but they need to be firing on every fucking cylinder if they want to keep extracting and having more and more pay pigs.
There is an amazing community over in Japan that takes immaculate care of their physical, games and cases. You probably and like it's so interesting when there's like multiple online markets. Like for example, Yahoo has like an auction market that's specifically in Japan, and the owners who resell their games, they'll be honest. They'll be like, this is being a little bit hyperbole, but mostly truth. Like they might say like, I breathed on the case once. I'm so sorry. So just know that my breath was a little bit close to it. I did brush my teeth before I breathed on it, but like just like when I get the game, I'm like, this thing could be in shrink wrap. And I love that there's always a circulation of used games. So for that to instantly go away like in the snap of a finger, as opposed to maybe downscaling, allowing people to trade in their physical disc for at least access to a digital license, I think there was just a less friction-filled.
Well, listen,
option.
that's another thing that's interesting. Wise that needs, pardon me, Kofi, that needs to be discussed is so Xbox is the rumors they're working on having that physical to digital license. That's, I mean, you're still giving up your rights to the disc.
Well, Xbox has been more digital before, even at PlayStation. At least PlayStation,
exactly, yeah,
right.
The fact that they're still doing physical is crazy.
Who's they?
PlayStation.
Xbox isn't. They're not doing physical.
Xbox is like 90-something% digital, right? So
Nib, that's you. Nib, you know darn right that what you said wasn't true. Xbox is not doing it more than the minute that Sony's out. Xbox wanted to get rid of it in 2013.
But what I mean is they beat them to the punch, right?
They didn't. They beat them. They beat them. They beat them. They did not beat them to the punch. Did you not? Did you miss the absolute insanity that went on of the Xbox One era?
Yeah, but that's not ending it all together. It's not
ending it all together. But that would have ended it sooner if that picked up.
It was
but like Forza Horizon 6 is a disc, right?
Forza Horizon 6 is
PlayStation.
Yeah, but isn't Wolverine's on a disc?
Well,
I know, but I mean, PlayStation has already announced that they're getting rid of it altogether. Xbox hasn't announced that yet. So they beat them to the punch on announcement.
They will.
The whole situation kind of funny because I was on, when I was on vacation, I was strumming through Twitter and everyone was like, "Oh my God, PlayStation not said anything for a week. Xbox is going to make it physical. Xbox is going to say
no, they're not.
Xbox has not been physical for years now. What the hell are you guys smoking? I'm in fucking Amsterdam and I'm surrounded by this shit. And I'm not smoking anything. What the fuck are you smoking? What are you?
Also, PlayStation is entering.
Do you have a disc or digital console? Out of curiosity.
Say again?
Do you have a disc or digital console, PS5?
Both.
Yeah, both, yeah. So it's the funny thing, right? Like, even though the majority is digital, according to Sakana's own data, right? Something like 80% of PS5 console sales are physical disc versions. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like even though consumers buy digital, they're still cognizant of the fact that they want the option. They'll pay the premium.
I agree.
Just to have that option.
I will pay more. I would pay more for the. I would pay more for the option. Well, that's the whole thing with options, right? That's everything. So whether you go to the movies, you get a better seat. Airplane, you get first class. You don't want to get rid. You want to have options. So I will pay more for physical. That's what I'm trying to say to you. I'm not fighting against you. I'm telling you that I've been in this world for so long that I've seen everything physical eventually go. So, and I'm the one that took it harder back in the day than anybody else. I was the one that couldn't believe when cars took the CD player out. You can't buy a car with a CD player, but there's people who have albums upon albums, these big CD. You know what I'm talking about, Nib? The big thing has 10 CDs on each flap, right? Like they have like hundreds of those books. And now cars don't have them. Nobody has them. You can't go, hey, buddy, here, Nib, play this real quick. You'd be like, Mooch, I don't have a player right now, dude. Okay. I'm just telling you, we're going down we all agreed that it was inevitable for PS7. Yes,
you
they
know
did it
how
earlier,
we
and now
always
we're
said
like,
about,
you know.
but you know the argument we used about Game Pass, right? How it was never going to meet mass adoption because people don't play games the way they passively listen to music and stuff. That applies here too, because you might scroll through like 100 songs, right, in the space of an hour or two or whatever, and you may want to pull from a collection of thousands of songs while you're on your drive to, you know, the airport or whatever, right? But gaming is not like that. So it's, you know, pulling out a disc for the one game you play in, you know, in several months or years or whatever is not the same as wanting an instant library of thousands upon thousands of movies or, you know, music or whatever.
Right. Go ahead, Brap. You were going to say something. I apologize. I interrupted you.
Oh no, I was going to ask. Nib brought up an interesting question. Interesting thought about was it something about squeezing consumers? I don't remember. And it's something.
Yeah.
It made me think of the Circana data that came out months ago. Matt Piscatella said, you know, he was kind of surprised by how, despite some of the economic headwinds, nagging inflation, at least here in the U.S., and you know, other parts of, you know, EU as well, but at least here in the U.S., that the gaming was still, like, people were still spending money, but the people that were driving a lot of that spend were people who were in those households that were, I think, north of $240,000 a year, right, in income, U.S. dollars. And it made me think, like, I think the console industry is becoming, I think what we're seeing is it's just becoming more tiered now, right? We're seeing this market stratification within the industry, that you were seeing these consoles evolve into these tiered ecosystems now, rather than kind of a one size fits all business model. I think that was probably the case prior to this generation. I think that's changing. I think that you know, there are going to be people that are priced out. There are going to be people that are going to have to make decisions here. I think, you know, there might be people who I look at Nintendo Switch as kind of that entry tier into console gaming. And then, you know, that high end tier is going to be PlayStation. I, you know, we see this in the PC space, right? Where the PC space is like this. You have your, you know, your 40, your 50s, your 5060s, 5070s, 5080s, and now people are actually buying 5090s, right? And we see this in the PC space. And this PC space is just, and we see this with CPUs. We see this in different hardware builds. And the PC space is just chugging along, doing its thing. In fact, we've seen probably a little more growth on the PC side the last couple of years, maybe, so than the console side. But I only bring that up because Nib brought up that point. It's kind of interesting, but I do think there's a delicate balance, perhaps too. I think to Nib's point, where you don't want to charge too much because then you maybe run the risk of pushing people out. But I always go back to, if they do, then they'll just adjust, right? Because the market will say, no, we don't want this. And then the companies will have to recalibrate and say, okay, we need to readjust our pricing or positioning in the market because consumers are saying, no, we don't want this. So I kind of think that's where we're heading. I think that's just the reality of the situation. And I think that if you're a platform owner and you're in that and you're operating in that high end space, right, where you know you're going to charge premium dollars for high end hardware, you know, premium gaming experiences. I mean, does it make sense for Sony or Xbox to sell a piece of hardware? Because we know that they're looking at ARPU now, or consumer lifetime value. Those are the big metrics now that they're looking at. It's no longer this, well, if I can sell a game or two games, it's well, how much is this person spending? If they don't see the value in people who are maybe outside or maybe not spending as much, and most of that spending is concentrated in that household that I mentioned, that $240,000 household that Matt Piscatella mentioned, that's driving a lot of the spend, then how valuable are those consumers to a Sony or Xbox? Probably not valuable if they're not spending any money. So what sense does it make them selling them a piece of hardware if they're only going to play Roblox? You know, if you think about if you're not subsidizing hardware, what does that mean for your business if you're selling it to people and you're subsidizing to people who aren't going to spend money inside your ecosystem, and they're bringing down ARPU, or they're not driving enough ARPU to make that sale, you know, worth your investment in manufacturing? I think those are things that are happening now, and kind of where we are in the console space. It's changing. It definitely is. Like I don't want to hear enough people talking about that, but I think we started seeing that at the start of this generation and maybe last generation with PS4 and then PS4 Pro, right? And then we saw Xbox Series S and Xbox Series X. Well, even last year, you had the Xbox One, the One X, right? That was the Project Scorpio, I think, right? So,
I think what scares me, is even because it always happens, right? When you have less competition, because let's be honest, Xbox is not really competition. So they essentially have a high performance console monopoly right now.
Yeah.
And that complacency and arrogance can set in, right? We've seen it many, many times. And my thing is, even with the way they've rolled out this end of physical announcement, and we've heard from others, like there's been some reporting today that they knew there was going to be fallback. But to me, it's just look how brazen they are, right? They know there's going to be huge fallback, but they're so fixed and confident in their position that even before
Nib,
trying to soften the blow.
Nib, why do you think they know that there's going to be this fallout?
Because it's like the golden chalice, right? It's something that even though it's not popular anymore, it's still something that so many consumers are still really passionate about. It's got culture and history and everything behind it, physical, and obviously millions of consumers, even if they are a grinning lump, still invest in it. But
I don't disagree, Nib, but I don't disagree like that. There's some relevance for certain consumers, but those consumers may not be enough now.
No, but what I mean is, but what I'm saying is the way they've rolled it out before even announcing some sort of benefits, right? Like, we're bettering our refund policies, and we're going to be offering, this or that, like closer to Steam, and they haven't done any of that stuff. They haven't made any of that.
I don't disagree with you on that.
You'll be able to swap your physical to digital codes and whatever else, or maybe
they
if you buy physical, you get addicted.
They should have put the better.
That's what I said earlier.
Yes,
those are the conversations we should be having.
Yes.
But I don't totally disagree with you. That's why I say like digital rights, right? Ownership. Refund.
That's what I mean.
PlayStation's refund
but
policy.
That tells me where they are in terms of mind shares. Like they really don't give a fuck. Like they're so brazen right now that we're not even going to throw you even a little bit of shrapnel in order to soften this blow. We're just going to kick you in the nuts, and you're going to like it.
That's the part where that's the fight that I think we need to really aim for right now, is to say exactly what you're saying. Get their refund policy a lot more like Steam's, right? Offer more digital advantages, right? Also, the whole buyback thing, I was reading some articles. That's a very difficult thing to do with, I guess, monies across different countries, etc. Return policy. I don't know. As far as exchanging is something, someone was saying that in an article. I don't really remember who was saying it, but like that might be difficult. But there's other things that they can do to make the digital purchase more safe, secure, and feel like ownership for the individual. So Nib, that's the line when you turn around. I'm going to be right there behind you and be like, let's fight for this. I just think right now when you look at the Circana numbers, the physical, the loud, what do you want to say? The vocal minority online is not adding up. The numbers aren't there. 350,000 people signed a petition. That's like that's not even 1% of the 100 million people out there, right, that own a PS5. So it's like those numbers aren't there, and then you have 100,000 only 7 games sold over. And this was a big year for gaming.
Maybe, but I bet 30 to 40% of Wolverine sales are physical.
Possibly, I don't know. I can't. I don't know. I would like to see it.
It was over 40%.
Was it? Was okay.
I told you, Astrobot was 60%.
Yeah, Astrobot was big. Yeah.
So these kind of games, they still have. I just think so far in this year, like maybe they've been more digital centric games, and obviously stuff like Resident Evil, it has a huge PC following, and that is digital only. So we're getting more skewed numbers. But I think once PlayStation releases stuff like God of War, Laufey, and Wolverine, obviously they'll never give us those splits, but we'll get them from Circana and from GSD.
Yes, we'll get them from Circana for sure, and the EU's numbers as well. So we got a couple super chats here, and then Nib and I both have we had an early morning tomorrow. Shout out real quick too. I'm just looking to see here. There it is. Grandpa Barbecue Game Cat. Shout out to Grandpa. He says, "Yep, time for people to accept what is, I think he spelled that wrong. Get over it and jump on the digital rights bandwagon. Protests where you can get a win. I'm not sure if he's being facetious there or not. Bespoke says, do people think that January 2028 that all used games will magically disappear? People still buy and sell NES games, and they haven't made new NES games in 30 years. Sony pretty much 5 times the value of your PlayStation collection. You're welcome. Oh, so he's saying Sony pretty much upped the value of your
games.
Yeah, he's
not worried about
yeah.
the past collection.
Bespoke saying, well, the items that you have are going to be very valuable. That's what he's saying. The governor reacts. Governor, you write these very cryptic messages, and I appreciate the super chats, but I don't know where you're going with this. He goes, Mooch, talk is cheap. If I can make an effort to share the information, will you support its exposure to the market, given you like the solution and panel? But, Governor, we don't know what you're talking about. He keeps writing in there. He's like, I have a solution. I can stop world hunger. Will you guys support it? Well, what is it? Governor, let us know. Babor, he says, you buy a single license for your use. It says not for resale. But you're complaining about them stopping you from reselling it. Bro, your entitlement. Well, we've been handing off games, Babor, since probably the 70s. But I hear you. Babor saying it's not for resale. But you can give it away, Babor, correct?
Technically, you always just bought the license. They just didn't really have a way to enforce that until now.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's really what happened. I mean, it was
right.
Always,
that's a good point, Prap.
You never really owned the game per se. It was a license, right? You bought the license to get access to that game, and and if you read the like EULA and stuff like that, like there were things that, we can blah blah blah, whatever. They just didn't have a way to really enforce that until now.
That's a good point. That's a great point. The OA says, what happened to, in quotes, Game Pass is the future, and if PlayStation doesn't do it, they'll lose. OA, you're a god amongst ants. Great point. Remember, Brap, it is so funny that years ago, Brap, we were on the show, and everybody, Game Pass is the future. PlayStation, get on this train or be left behind. Now everyone's like, wait, a lot of the people that are arguing for the physical rights are huge Game Pass fans. And I understand you're saying it's an option. I get the option. I want the option too. I still want to have a physical disc reader in my vehicle. I can't get one. I mean, factory. You can get one third party. But, I hear you guys. Babor says, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Did you read out the comment about the PS6 handheld yet?
No, that's the last one. I was just going to get to it. Babor said, don't misinform. Digital PS5 was very hard to buy. He's saying Babor, I assume you mean 2020, 2021? Everything was hard to get back then, buddy.
Everything was hard.
Everything was hard to get back then.
Everything was
now,
hard.
Bespoke says, Nib, when PS6 and the PS6P handheld launch next year, who the heck is buying physical when a digital game will work on both, but physical will only work on the PS6? He said, don't be such a pessimist. PS6 will have an optional drive. So I don't.
But why would it need a drive if it's not going to have physical games?
To play your back compat.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's it. It's not really that useful then at that point. But I was going to say, my assumption would have been that even if you buy a physical copy of a game, let's just say in a world where they still offered physical games, that you would be able to cloud stream much like you do on the, fucking PS, what's it called? PS, whatever, the portable one.
A portal.
At the moment,
a portal.
Right? Yeah, or they would just give you sort of like a portable copy or something with the license or something like that. I know, obviously, that is on the far-fetched generous side, but I thought at the very least we'd be able to cloud stream it, just like we do now on our units. So that's why there could still be incentive to buy physical.
Okay.
But again, that kind of if you draw people over to digital, with quality incentives, I don't mind that. That's the actual way you should be.
That's correct.
Moving people over to digital, right? Like, if giving them, you get this, you get 2 copies of the game, you get this refund system, you get whatever, you get these discounts now, and this. So then great, okay. Then you speed up the transition, and people don't feel as hard done because they're like, actually, we're in an okay place right now with this digital space, but we're not there with PlayStation, and they're jumping the gun.
That's the argument right there. I'm right there with you. I am right there with you, Nip. Seriously, no joke. That's the stuff. If you want to ease people into an all digital world, do what you just said. Give everybody that, let them have that warm and fuzzy feeling as they're walking out. You're still going to get people that are upset. But yeah, I'm with you guys. Listen, I at this point, there's still going to be a lot more going on. There's a lot more to discuss in this category. I do think that it is important. I know people, this is not to relieve anybody on the physical side of being happy. Nib, you just said it yourself. But Sony does have to put out some sort of external CD Blu-ray device so that we can play the physical media that we currently have on a PS6. It's not about, they have to offer that. That's not solving anything or making anybody happy, but you need to have that option. Stryker, I agree with you. He says it's all about control. But buddy, listen, I hear you. I hear you. But we all are on Twitter, right? X. We're all there. And it seems like every 3 months, Netflix, Disney Plus raises the price. They raise the price. And everybody underneath it, there's like 1,000 comments. Oh, Netflix, you're greedy. Oh, I'm gonna get rid of this. Oh, I'm leaving. But people don't leave. So I hear you, but I'm not seeing the results anywhere. On music, Spotify's through the roof. Apple Music's through the roof. I don't know. Best Buy left physical media a long time ago. They were like, we're not going to carry anymore. I don't know. I just feel like we're fighting. I know what we're fighting for, but we need to fight for the digital rights for all of us to make sure that the games that you buy digitally, that you can, not lose those games, and have, like Nib gave 3 or 4 great examples, and I think that's where we need to fight right now. I don't know. I don't have the article in front of me here. I was looking for it. I think it was Alana Pierce. She came out and said, something like that, Sony's they're not going to revert course. And you're probably saying, well, what does Alana have to do with it? Well, she worked for like Sony Santa Monica. She hears these things. That's somebody on the inside that heard things, or I'm paraphrasing. I don't have the article in front of me, but she had some things to say on it. And that's somebody on the inside, she worked there. So they clearly are not going to reverse course. Now the question is when we buy something digitally, how do we ensure that it remains with you? The consumer. That's what we have to start fighting for. I don't know. Listen, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We are literally going to have this conversation for the next year and a half. It'll be in spurts. It won't be as hot and heavy as it was the first 3 weeks, like 2 weeks ago, because this is like week 5. But it is going to rear its ugly head time and time again until we get to January 28th. And let me tell you something, January 28th is not going to be pretty. That's not going to be a pretty day. That first game that launches on PlayStation, a PlayStation first party, and it doesn't have a physical disc, I don't even want to, you're not even going to want to be on Twitter that day. That's going to be brutal. Mariko, thank you for the super chases. People tend to forget that there's a significant demographic of gamers who genuinely don't care about any controversy and just play however they can. It's not just that, though, Mariko. You're right. Shout out to Brian East. It's not just that. It's the younger, we all say, the younger generation. Remember when everybody was like, everyone plays on their iPad and, streaming's the way of the future. The youth, I'm with you guys on the physical front. I hear you. I hear you. I just think the youth I don't think they care much, and that's not pointing any blame. They just grew up in an era where everything was digital. They have everything on their phones. They all have Spotify. They all have Apple Music.
I agree with you, but I also think that consumer base they're not really the ones buying these types of enthusiast games. They're the ones who play Fortnite, Call of Duty, FIFA, or whatever.
Well,
so of course they're going to buy digitally, right? Because
you could say that, Nib, but every year that goes by and those folks get older and you get older, less will be in your category and more will be in theirs.
I absolutely agree with that, and that's why I said at the end of the day the market will decide. All I'm waiting to see now is how this affects the PS6, how it affects future adoption.
Yes,
because you never know. This actually could have much worse ramifications that we think. I don't mean because of the outcry on social media. I don't think that really makes much of a difference.
Yeah,
I'm talking about actual consumers who no longer can afford this hobby. Like they just think, okay, what the fuck? Like I can't buy my used games. I can't trade, sell this, that. Okay, maybe I'm not going to bother with this $800 device anymore.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
like, I mean more along those lines of consumer base. So we'll see what happens. I'm curious. Or maybe the pay pigs, like us, will make up the difference, and they won't even smidge at that losing that market. But again, we just have to wait and see. It's difficult to ascertain.
It is
at this point.
Yeah, that's why I said we're at the tip of the iceberg. There's so much fallout that is going to happen as a result of this, and we're going to see those results in the next 2 years. So it's not too far down the road to see and have a more in-depth discussion on the results, and then there'll be a further fallout, if you will, 5 years after that, and that's what Nib's saying. Then you'll start to see, did people adapt to this next generation of PS6 and next Xbox, etc.? Were they able to? Was it within their financial means anymore at that point? Did they let it go because it just ballooned out of control? So there's a lot to talk about here. This is the very early goings on something that's going to be very, very dramatic for the next 5 years at least. So let me say this. I want to say shout out to everybody that's here. I told Nib I would keep tonight to 2.5. We still did 3. But 3 is still less than 4. I will say that, right? We've been doing 4 hours for the last 2 months. So shout out to everybody that's here. Plus some of the panel guys had to leave after 2.5 hours, which I want to say thank you. They come here and spend their time here with us and have a great time talking games for the week. And they got other things that go on after 2.5 hours podcasting. I'll go in reverse order and say, Kofi, thank you for being here, buddy. Outstanding as always, Kofi. We will look forward to you hopefully on the first Thursday of the next month, even though I'm trying to book you every week. But Kofi, always great to have you, buddy. I love your insight in gaming. You bring a whole nother look into the world of gaming that a lot of us don't think about, we don't talk about, and we don't live. So you being here is fantastic. Kofi, let people know where they can find you, and I appreciate you being here tonight.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for the kind words. As usual, you can find me on Twitter, creative_Kofi. I've been a little bit less active, but I'm still gaming a whole lot.
Nice.
Right now, I'm still enjoying Crimson Desert, which you guys have probably seen a lot of updates for it. So, maybe if you already own the game, you should try it. But
Very
I'll see you
nice.
guys online.
Yeah, appreciate you, Kofi. Nib, thank you as well. Nib, great to have you back on the show after 2 weeks on vacation, or as you guys call it overseas, holiday. It's great to have you back,
While
buddy.
I was away, did you have all the pro digital people on?
I don't think I have them in the Rolodex as pro digital. I'm not really sure. I think, but no, because the conversations. Oh no, there was plenty of people defending. Maybe not to the they didn't have the pitchfork and axe you had.
I just want to make one point, right? Because there's a lot of listen, I'm a Sony fan, right? But some of you take this shit too far, bro.
Yes,
the corporate bootlicking is unreal. I've had people come at me with you bought a digital game, you can no longer complain about physical dying. And I'm like, bro, you understand how options work, right? Consumers like options.
Yes.
I like the option to buy physical and the option to buy digital. Live service games, I tend to buy digital because I don't want to keep swapping discs if I'm going to be playing them for months or years or whatever.
Yep.
Whereas single player tentpole games, I tend to prefer to buy physical, right? And because that's the majority of the types of games I play, this tends to be the majority of my purchases. Although, indie games and stuff, they usually are digital only, so I'll buy them digitally. But that does not mean, it's such an asinine comment to essentially suggest that because someone loves options, they can no longer complain about losing options.
That's why, listen.
It's the most ridiculous.
Nib, listen, that's why I like to call this CrossFire, and it's fine. Everyone has a preference, right? Everybody has I want you to mention what I would never say, oh, Nib, because you bought one thing you can't. No. I'm saying that I feel like so using me and you as an example, you definitely buy more physical in today's time, right, than I do. However,
yes. I know I'm
with you. Yeah. I'm with you in the fact that I want that option. And you asked a good question. You didn't. I was waiting for your follow-up before, and you said, Mooch, do you have a physical or digital? And I said, I have both. And you're like, okay. The reason I had bought it was because of the fact that I would want, if I want, ready, the option. If I want to play one of my physical discs behind me here, well, if I don't have the attachment, I'm shit out of luck. So I bought it because I wanted the option. So I'm right there with you. That's the one thing I want to leave today's show with, knowing I guess I'm okay with the fact that I just realized things are going to change. Like, things are just going to change. Like, look at how much has changed, Nib, in the world after COVID, right? Like, a lot of things. Companies that never telework allow telework. It goes on and on and on and on and on. I don't have them all written down on a list of what changed after COVID, but people say it all the time in the office and everything else. They're like, well, this changed after COVID. It never went back. This changed after COVID. That never went back. So, like, things just changed, and sometimes they don't go back. And I don't know. It seems like Sony's made up their mind, and these publishers, they're right there in line with them, right? And you can go out corporate greed, all of these things. But at the same time, like my VHS tapes, I mean, why isn't anybody fighting for me? I have VHS tapes. Nobody seems to give a shit, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'd like to use these again.
I agree. But again, this is why I boil back to DVD was always superior in every way over VHS. Blu-ray is superior in every way over, DVD. Whereas digital is not superior in every way over physical. So you're not really upgrading to a newer technology. What you're really doing is just swapping one that has more convenience for one that has more ownership, control, resale, etc. Right?
Okay, yeah.
So it's not like a clear trade-off. But again, I acknowledge that most consumers have said they prefer the convenience. I'm not like naive to that.
There's a couple of slight nib. I would say it's not gravely superior. No, it's not. But like if me and you, let's say you were my cousin, right? And now we're family sharing. Now I bought one, we get two. You may say, well, Mooch, if I had the physical disc, I could give it to you. You could give it to me, but then you can't play. Right, so there is some things that are a little better. I'm not saying it's not gravely better. It's not drastically better. I'm saying there's a couple of nuances out there, and like you said, now I want to say what you said. They need to give us more. They have to give more incentive to move people to digital. They have to, and we need something that says you can't take this away from me. You know what I mean? Same way you had that physical disc in your hand.
And I think ownership as well, like. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Obviously, like stores are still going to have digital codes, right? So maybe we still will get like sales and stuff. But again, I think it will be naive to think that will stick around forever as well. I'm sure that will eventually be phased out as well. And we will only just have the store, probably by the PS7 generation, I assume. So it's not going to get better. We'll see. Again, let's just see what happens.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
Yeah, there's going to be a limit to what people can afford. And I know I've said this before and I come off as very pessimistic. I do not think the future outlook of society as a whole is very positive. And especially with the kinds of people we have in power and the way things are moving politically. Essentially what's happening is, the 1-2% of the world is the wealth gap is increasing, right?
Yeah.
They are able to exploit more and more from the masses, and the masses, they're involved in these culture wars and all these other shit with their, that they're getting sort of hoodwinked into and missing the forest for the trees, right? Yep. It is not your neighbor or the minority that is taking your money. It is actually the billionaires and the corporations of this world, but they're so good at their propaganda and then news coverage and everything else that people always miss the mark. And unfortunately, it's heading more in that direction. And, we'll probably have another market crash, maybe something like the recession or worse. And now we have AI taking people's jobs as well. Like, it's such a dire situation and outlook going forward. So I really wonder how are people going to deal with the economic ramifications and the job loss ramifications of what 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line entails.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, like I said, Nib, we're going to be talking about this for quite some time, buddy. And there's a lot. There's more to the onion to peel back than we're on the very top layer of talking about. I like having my physical collection and what is going to transpire over these next couple of years and what we get and what we don't get. Yeah, shout out to Mass Produced, by the way. Me and him are going back and forth. You like that, Mass? He goes, he didn't like the VHS analogy. And then I said to him, I go, well, the VHS tapes degrade over time and usage, which is true. Believe me, guys. I don't know how much you guys use VHS or if you're even old enough to use that. And I said, I can't get another one. So I go, it wasn't a great analogy, but it was an okay one. And he goes, okay, Mooch, fair enough. Shout out to Mass Produce. I appreciate you being here, but he's here every week. Great to have him here. Again, I want to give a shout out to Mary Wilcox and her family. If you got a couple of minutes, guys, enjoy your family. Give your mom and dad a call. They're not here forever. Mary, prayers and thoughts are with you and your family. I know that the whole chat is right there with me. I saw them sending a lot of thoughts over through the chat today. So shout out to them. And a quick little shout out here to the wise old gamer who had to leave early, Brap, who had to leave early, Death Singer, and of course, Mag, you guys know. We had a great show tonight. Thank you guys for the super chats. Oh, I forgot the governor wrote me, SGN will compete with the next generation console experience at half the price with 4K at 60, high ultra, and 120 FPS medium high with discs and emulation. SGN. Nib, you know what SGN is?
I do not know.
I also do not.
It rings a bell, though.
It sounds familiar, but I don't know. But Governor, listen, get a hold of me. Let me know what you're thinking. You got a lot going on, buddy. Great to have you guys here. Thank you for the super chats, guys. Thanks to this great panel. Nib, thank you to you and Kofi for making it the whole 3 hours. You guys are all fantastic. We'll see you next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Go play some games. Guys, go over and follow me. Twitch.tv, Mooch TV, M00CHTV. Drop the O's for zeros. We're going to be doing Halo tomorrow. Shout out to Blaze and Lazy. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.